Known as the god of death of Konoha, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276. Bai Yu is back. The closer you get to home, the more you feel homesick. Bai Yu, flying in the air, was quite excited as he looked at the Konoha village getting closer and closer. His wife whom he hadn't seen for a long time, his children whom he hadn't seen for a long time, and his friends whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Bai Yu was overwhelmed with emotions. The sunshine at noon was very bright, not only shining on Bai Yu's face, it was also shining on Tsunade and Orochimaru, who were basking in the sun in the yard of the Bai mansion in the distance. I haven't been so free for a long time. Tsunade took a sip of tea and said comfortably, yeah. Now even Bai Yu has his own opinions. But why haven't Jinga and Haoa opened their Dharma Eyes? Orochimaru asked, while lying beside Tsunade. I don't know either. But no matter whether it's Kya, Haoa, or Jinga and Haoa, safety, health and happiness are more important than anything else. Tsunade said with a loving face. Yes, Kya and Haoa are grown up now. But Jinga and Haoa are different from Kya and Haoa. To be honest, I'm not really worried about Haoa, although he's a little naughty. But Jinga is different. She's always quiet and keeps everything to herself. I don't see her playing with other children. Orochimaru said with a little worry. Makoto, you're just too concerned. Think about Jinga's every move and you'll know. Bai Yu left when Jinga and Haoa were still young. Kya and Haoa's childhood was full of Bai Yu's company, but these two children didn't. There were several times when Jinga saw other children with their parents, and there was envy in her eyes, but this child didn't say it usually. Tsunade said with a little emotion. Orochimaru didn't say anything after hearing this, but looked at the sky like Tsunade. For a long time. Sister. I saw my husband. Orochimaru said blankly when she saw the familiar face in the sky. I saw it too. We are not hallucinating, are we? Tsunade was also stunned and said in disbelief. But the next second, the two women only felt a flash in front of their eyes, and the surrounding scenes changed and finally appeared in the room. The two women wanted to resist, but when they heard the familiar voice, they stopped resisting with a smile on their faces. Don't talk. I miss you two so much. The otaku girl next door forced herself to suppress her excitement and continue to immerse herself in the world of the game. Fortunately, Bai Yu arranged a soundproofing array. The sun sets, and the smoke rises. Tsunade and Orochimaru are busy in the kitchen with rosy faces. Bai Yu is looking at the photos on the wall and can't leave. I didn't expect that I would be gone for so many years. Beiki and Bai Yu have grown up, and even Bai Ying and Bai Haoa are in school. Ah. By the way, husband. Jinga and Haoa, school is almost over. I have to pick them up. Tsunade hurriedly came out of the kitchen, hurriedly changed clothes, and hurriedly said to Bai Yu. Bai Yu smiled slightly and waved at Tsunade. King Cheng. Go pick up Jinga and Haoa. If you don't go, I'll cut off your internet connection. Bai Yu shouted loudly upstairs. Asshole brother. You cut off my internet connection as soon as you come back. I can't go. Bai King Cheng also responded, and then a beautiful figure jumped down from the upstairs and walked out of the Bai mansion. Done. Bai Yu made a victory gesture to Tsunade. Dead look. Tsunade rolled her eyes at Bai Yu, then went back to the kitchen and got busy with Orochimaru. But there was a smile on her lips all the time. Bai King Cheng suffered from the gazes of those stinky men along the way. I really wanted to freeze them into ice sculptures with a breath of dragon. But this is just a thought. If I really did that, I guess my stinky brother would definitely hang me on the tree for 3 days and 3 nights. Bai King Cheng stood at the school gate with a frosty face. Why? It was because Bai King Cheng's hearing was too good, and she could hear everything clearly. What a pity, she's already a mother at such a young age. I don't know who is so lucky. Yeah. The child is so big now, it seems that she just takes good care of herself. Why didn't I know there was such a beautiful woman in the village before? If I had known earlier, I would definitely marry her, even if I had to give up all my family fortune. Come on. You. Such a beautiful woman. Your ancestors' graves must be emitting lasers to marry her. Lasers? I think my ancestors' graves must be emitting lasers. Oh. It's so rare. Why did you come to pick her up in person? I don't know what happened, but it was such a coincidence today that Narashikaku, Akimichi Choza, Yamanaka Inoichi, Uchiha Fugaku, Hyuga Hayashi, and Hyuga Hisashi all came over. The one who was talking was Uchiha Fugaku. It's none of your business. Humph. Baking Cheng said arrogantly. Haha. Uchiha Fugaku was frustrated by Baking Cheng and rubbed his nose awkwardly. When the people around saw it, they couldn't help laughing. King Cheng, long time no see. Kushina saw how lively Ed was here. Since school hadn't ended yet and they were all acquaintances, she simply came over to chat. Kushina. Yes. Long time no see. Kushina received special treatment from Baking Cheng. Baking Cheng held Kushina's hand and smiled like a flower. Seeing this scene, Uchiha Fugaku was even more embarrassed. It turns out that she is only cold and indifferent to the opposite sex. Exclamation mark. Could it be that Baking Cheng likes women? What embarrassed Uchiha Fugaku was that he accidentally said it. Although his voice was very soft, who are all the people present here? How could they not hear it? A murderer Sora approached Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Fugaku hurriedly explained that slip of the tongue, misunderstanding, misunderstanding. Don't get excited. After Uchiha Fugaku finished speaking, he hurriedly looked at Kushina. Kushina smiled, took Baking Cheng's hand, and said with a smile, how come you have time to pick up Jinga and Haoa today? Hey, originally, I don't have to worry about this. Sister-in-law Tsunade basically picks us up every time. But today is different. My brother is back. If it weren't for that bastard of my brother, how could I give up the silver qualifying match? When Kia comes back, I have to make him get me to diamond. Otherwise I won't be able to resist losing. Baking Cheng said with a face full of resentment. That's what I said. Who else in the whole Konoha can control you except Bai Yu? Narashikaku said casually. But after saying that, he was stunned. What did you say? Yu is back. Kushina said excitedly, holding Baking Cheng's hand. She was so excited that tears were about to fall. Yes. It's only been a while since I came back. Otherwise, how could I come out? Baking Cheng said helplessly. That's good. Minato can finally get up. After so many years. Yu is finally back. Kushina's tears fell down, but she was excited and happy. Chapter 277 Touching and Charming. Just when everyone was sighing, the school bell rang. All the children in the school ran out. Soon, all the parents left. Only Kushina and Baking Cheng were left. Although Baking Cheng always played games, she knew about Baiing and Baiheo, especially Baiheo. Kushina also knew that Uzumaki Naruto was very naughty. The two looked at each other and smiled helplessly. After a long time, Baking Cheng looked at the somewhat excited Kushina and said softly, come with me to my house for dinner later. My brother is back just in time. After dinner, let him go to see Minato. Is this a bit too much trouble for you? I'll go back to the hospital and wait for you later. Kushina said embarrassedly. It's okay. You know my brother. Baking Cheng said with a smile. It's so rude. Naruto had dinner at Bai's house last time. After you treats Minato, I will definitely cook a table of food and invite you to my house as a guest. Kushina also said cheerfully. Tell me, why haven't these three kids come out yet? Have they gotten into some big trouble? The two waited for a while, but the three kids still didn't show up. Kushina was getting anxious. That shouldn't be the case. With Jinga here, these two brats shouldn't be so tactless. Baking Cheng also said in confusion. Finally, someone showed up. They were Baiing, Baiheo, Uzumaki Naruto, and their teacher Iruka. This time, Baking Cheng was a little surprised, because not only Baiheo and Uzumaki Naruto were in tatters, but even Baiing, who always paid attention to herself, was a little dirty. Baking Cheng and Kushina looked at each other in confusion, but they still had to be polite. Baking Cheng and Kushina bowed to Iruka and said apologetically, sorry, teacher, we are causing you trouble. It was also the first time that Iruka saw Baking Cheng. He was obviously fascinated by Baking Cheng's face. Fortunately, Iruka was a gentleman. He returned to normal during the conversation between Baking Cheng and Kushina. Iruka took a deep breath and said, "It's nothing. In fact, I stand on the side of these 3 children this time. However, in order to give the school an explanation, I still ask the 3 children to write a self-criticism." Iruka finished speaking and then explained what the 3 children did again. It was at noon that students from other classes were stopped by Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto because they wanted to contact Bai Yu. If Bai Yu agreed, the two would naturally not stop them, but the most important thing was that Bai Yu had already politely issued an order to leave, but they still pestered Bai Yu. Being stopped by Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto, this classmate was furious and said that they were children without a father. Now not only Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto, but also Bai Yu was angry. Although Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto play pranks every day, they are sunny and cheerful, generous, and generous. They have also won the love of many classmates. Although they don't get along well with each other, they really help each other when there is something. Look, Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto got involved, and the 2 classes started fighting. There is no doubt that the winner is Iruka's class. Even the always cold Uchiha Sasuke participated. But when the teacher asked, Bai Yu, and Uzumaki Naruto took all the responsibilities. This made the classmates in the same class look at the 3 people differently. Of course, everyone is not such a disloyal classmate. They all said that they also have responsibilities. Seeing such a united class, Iruka was relieved and angry. But in the end, Iruka also asked the 3 people to write a review, and it was solved. After knowing this, Baking Cheng and Kushina were angry at first. But then, they laughed. Bai Yu is back. Minato will be back soon. After listening to Iruka, Baking Cheng and Kushina smiled and thanked Iruka, apologized for the trouble the child caused, and left with Bai Yu, and Uzumaki Naruto with a smile on their faces. Iruka was left with a confused look on his face. Shouldn't these 2 be very angry about this kind of thing? Iruka, who couldn't figure it out, didn't think about it anymore. Anyway, the matter was resolved. Iruka put his hands in his trouser pockets and walked slowly towards home. "Aunt, you are in a good mood today." Bai Yu looked at Baking Cheng and said with his eyes narrowed. He was trying to find out about Baking Cheng, fearing that this terrifying woman would beat him up. "I'm in a good mood today. Congratulations, you saved a beating. So, don't test me." Baking Cheng said with a smile. "I didn't. I thought, if Aunt is unhappy, I will make Aunt happy. I didn't test it." Bai Yu was so smart, his eyes turned, and he said with a slandered look, "Haha, you little guy." Baking Cheng poked Bai Yu and said with a smile, "Mom, why do you look different today than usual? You seem very excited." Uzumaki Naruto was pulled by Kushina, and he felt the change in Kushina, and asked in a low voice, "Me? You will know later." Kushina said with a smile, "TSK. If you don't tell me, I don't want to know." Uzumaki Naruto said with a pout. Kushina didn't say anything either. She knew Uzumaki Naruto's character too well. Sure enough, 5 seconds later, Uzumaki Naruto took Kushina's hand and said, "Mom, just tell me." "Mom, I can only say that the thing you are most looking forward to is about to happen. You will know when you go to Bai's house. We are going to visit Bai's house today." Kushina said with a smile. "The thing I'm most looking forward to, could it be? How is it possible? It has been so many years." After hearing what Kushina said, Uzumaki Naruto didn't say anything, but thought to himself. Bai Yu and Bai Yu on the side heard this clearly. The 2 siblings looked at each other and communicated tacitly. Bai Yu and Bai Yu both felt some resistance, some nervousness, and some confusion. When they approached the Bai mansion, the siblings were only nervous. When the siblings saw that the table had been empty all the time, and there was a handsome man sitting on the main seat, their minds suddenly went blank. "Jinga. Heyoa. Come and let daddy hug you." Gentle and magnetic. What a familiar voice. Bai Yu and Bai Yu couldn't help it, and tears instantly flowed from their eyes. Daddy. The siblings threw themselves into Bai Yu's arms. Bai Yu didn't eat this meal. Instead, he hugged the siblings and enjoyed being fed by them. Uzumaki Naruto, who was standing by, felt so sad when he saw this. Kushina was not in a hurry. She had waited for so long, and it didn't matter if she had to wait for a meal. After eating and clearing the dishes, Bai Yu waved his hand. Let's go. Let's go to the hospital and save my brother. It has to be said that Bai Yu is really a charming man. Although it has been such a long time since we last met, Bai Yu's heroic spirit, his carefree attitude, and his occasional domineering aura really make people feel indescribable. Bai Heo and Bai Ying looked at Bai Yu with excitement because they could finally see their father show his power and solve the problems that no one else could solve. Chapter 278 Sensation. When Bai Yu walked on the street, Konoha village was in an uproar. How many years have passed since we last saw Bai Yu? At the beginning, many people didn't know Bai Yu, but in the end, the news of Bai Yu's appearance spread throughout the Konoha village. However, Bai Yu's old acquaintances did not come to find him. Instead, they all gathered at the Konoha hospital because they knew that when Bai Yu returned to Konoha, the first thing he would do was to save Minato Namikaze. For a while, Konoha hospital became lively. Hatake Tsukumo, Uchiha Fugaku's family, Hyuga Hayashi, Hyuga Hisashi's family, Nerishikaku's family, Akimichi Choza's family, Yamanaka Inoichi's family, Inozuka Tail's family, Aburame Shiwa's family, Yuhi Shinku, Jekao Hayate, Yuzuki Yugeo, etc., including Sarutobi Hiruzen, all went to Konoha hospital. When Bai Yu rushed to the hospital with Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, Kushina, Uzumaki Naruto, Bai Ying, and Bai Heo, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. Wow, basically this contains the highest power of the entire Konoha. Now Bai Yu is no longer the young and frivolous man he used to be. Although he is sometimes unruly, he should be more mature. Seeing so many familiar faces, Bai Yu's heart was also rippled with a warm current. He immediately put down the two children he had been holding along the way, cleared his throat, and said loudly, "Everyone, I, Bai Yu, am back." Everyone also smiled and said nothing, because there was also Sarutobi Hiruzen, who would speak first. "Dad, who is he?" Nerishikamaru, the son of Nerishikaku, who inherited Nerishikaku's high IQ very well, asked with a flash of thought in his eyes. "He, a very troublesome guy," Nerishikaku said with a smile on his lips. "Trouble?" Exclamation mark. "Trouble, you smile so brightly, there must be something fishy." Nerishikamaru thought silently in his heart. He would not believe that Bai Yu is really a trouble as his father said. At the same time, "Dad, that guy is so handsome. Who is he? He looks very young. Could he be the friend you are talking about? He is so popular. The key is that he is so handsome." Yamanaka Ino whispered to Yamanaka Inoichi beside her with a look of love. Yamanaka Inoichi felt bad when he heard this. Indeed, why do we all get older, but this guy seems to be the same as before? Seeing Yamanaka Ino's appearance, Yamanaka Inoichi felt even worse. Damn Bai Yu, even his own daughter. Damn, Ino, that guy looks young, but he is actually not much different in age from your dad. And see, that's Bai Ying and Bai Heo's father. The reason why that guy is so popular is that Konoha has been able to prosper over the years and everyone has lived a peaceful life, and you has made a great contribution. If it weren't for someone scheming against you, and if you was not interested in the position of Hokage, I think the position of Hokage would be his now. Yamanaka Inoichi said with emotion. "Father, is what Uncle Heiai said true?" A little fat boy and a big fat boy were closer to Yamanaka Heiai. The little fat boy Akimichi Choji heard it clearly and asked Akimichi Choza. Not only that, the Konoha Chuan Xiang that can rival barbecue was opened by him. As soon as Akimichi Choza said this, Akimichi Choji's eyes instantly burst into a terrifying light. The Nera father and son who came over and just heard the conversation between the Akimichi father and son felt helpless. Even Bai Ying and Bai Heo had a vague memory of Bai Yu. How could these children recognize Bai Yu? You're back. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were slightly complicated, but no matter what, from the overall situation, Bai Yu did nothing wrong. Bai Yu glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen with a complicated look and said respectfully, "Hokage-sama, I'm sorry about those people. Forget it, the past is the past. Why mention him? You and Minato have worked hard all these years." Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and said, "Nothing. It's all my job." Thank you for your hard work during this period, Hokage. Although Bai Yu said it respectfully, there was a hint of flavor in his tone. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not old and his eyes were blurry, nor did he have Alzheimer's disease. After a little twist and turn, he understood Bai Yu's intention. It's not hard. As the third Hokage, this is my responsibility. When people get old, some things can't keep up with the thinking of young people. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with emotion like a kind old man. How could it be? I'll go to treat Minato first. Bai Yu said with a smile. Okay. People are old and their energy is a little insufficient. I'll go home first and talk tomorrow. Sarutobi Hiruzen also said with a smile. Seeing that the Hokage had left, Bai Yu's old friends came over. After Bai Yu chatted with everyone for a while, he said that he would invite Minato to go to the barbecue together tomorrow. Everyone dispersed at this time, especially the father and son Akimichi. The light in their eyes almost blinded Bai Yu. After everyone disappeared, he said with emotion, it seems that this year's Konoha Elite Ninja competition will be very lively. These children have great potential. TSK. That's because I didn't use my full strength, so I was always robbed of the first place by Sasuke. Beiheo said arrogantly. Bai Yu saw Beiheo's arrogant look, and immediately thought of Tsunade, who was full of vigor and vitality back then. He looked at Tsunade secretly, and poked Beiheo's forehead. He smiled and said nothing, and went straight to Minato Namikaze's ward. Beiheo's forehead was poked, and his little face suddenly flushed. Beiying was a little envious. Why didn't daddy poke his forehead? At this moment, Kushina's heart was only excited. Even if Uzumaki Naruto's brain was not working well now, he thought of Bai Yu's need to save his father. Although he didn't know if he could be cured, he was also very nervous. He even walked a little mechanically. Seeing Minato Namikaze with a smile on his face and his eyes closed on the hospital bed, Bai Yu couldn't help but sigh in his heart that he had always thought that such a thing would never happen in this world, but he didn't expect it to happen. According to what we know, Minato Namikaze was stabbed by Uchiha in the center position because he was protecting Kato Shizune. His wounds healed, but his consciousness could not return to normal. It is said that Kato Shizune tried every possible way to repay Minato Namikaze, but in the end she could not wake Minato Namikaze up. Could it be that his soul was damaged? Exclamation mark. Impossible. The soul can only be summoned by that old man. Could it be? Bai Yu suddenly looked at Minato Namikaze. Using the power of the Dharma Eye that can capture souls, he explored Minato Namikaze's soul. It was seen that Minato Namikaze's soul was trapped in the spiritual platform, and the meridians around the spiritual platform had long been atrophied. If it was not for timely treatment, even if he could be saved, I'm afraid that the whole person would be unable to move below the neck. Chapter 279 Treatment completed. Hey, it seems that this is the only way. Bai Yu sighed and said helplessly. How is it? How is it? Kushina asked hurriedly. You know, Bai Yu is now Kushina's last straw. It can be cured and saved. It's just that the process is a bit violent. I hope you can be ready. Bai Yu looked at Kushina with a complicated expression. Okay, as long as Minato can wake up, anything is fine. Although Kushina didn't know what method Bai Yu used, as long as Minato Namikaze could wake up, anything would be fine. Minato, I know you can hear now. I'm back. That, you also know, that you can only hear now, you can't see, and you can't touch. The next method is a bit rough. You have to be mentally prepared. Bai Yu said to Minato Namikaze awkwardly. I'm going to start. Are you watching here? Or go out and avoid it? Bai Yu asked. Avoid what? Tsunade asked puzzledly. Well, the scene will be very bloody. I'm afraid of scaring the children. Bai Yu said seriously. Bloody? Do I need surgery? Uchiha Makoto asked. Almost. Very bloody. Jinga and Heiwa, if you are scared, you can let Tsunade take you out. The same goes for Naruto. If you are scared, you can follow Aunt Tsunade out. Bai Yu looked at the three children and asked. We are not afraid. Beiheo was the first to say proudly. In that way, he really had the demeanor of Tsunade back then. Me too. I'm not afraid. Uzumaki Naruto looked fearless and looked very much like Kushina. Beiying's eyes first revealed a hint of fear, then a hint of firmness, and nodded. Although Beiying was good at hiding her true thoughts, and was used to hiding them. The change in her eyes was very obscure, but Bai Yu still discovered it. Bai Yu's perception is so strong. Bai Yu touched Bai Ying's head and said with a smile, "Silly girl, if you are afraid, you should say it out. If you don't say it out, who will know it?" "Daddy, I'm fine. I want to see more." Bai Ying was surprisingly shy after Bai Yu exposed her inner thoughts and said to Bai Yu coquettishly. However, Bai Ying's heart was full of Bai Yu because Bai Yu was the first person who could keenly perceive her thoughts without Bai Ying specifically expressing her thoughts. He was worthy of being her father. Bai Yu saw Bai Ying's appearance, smiled, poked her forehead, and then touched Bai Ying's little head hard. He didn't say anything, but this change made Tsunade and Uchiha Mikoto on the side look at each other. Sure enough, the girl is close to her father. "Okay, in this case, I'm going to start," Bai Yu said with a serious face. Everyone nodded without saying anything. Bai Yu was about to start. With a turn of his eyes, they would definitely misunderstand this method, but they couldn't be distracted during the process, so this was the only way. Bai Yu's mana was running, and a purple gold light shone from his body. He was chanting spiritual words. A purple gold barrier separated Bai Yu from Tsunade and the others. Bai Yu set up a barrier. Why did Bai Yu set up a barrier? Just when everyone was confused, the next second everyone's eyes widened. No wonder. Seeing the next scene, Kushina's eyes were red. Bai Yu ran the dragon mana in his body. He floated Minato Namikaze in the air. Bai Yu put his right hand together to form a sword finger. The reason why he didn't use the dragon sword on his waist was because the current dragon sword would absorb blood essence. Bai Yu didn't want Minato Namikaze to faint again because of the lack of blood essence. Just after he woke up, a purple gold light flashed from his right hand. Minato Namikaze's head and body were separated instantly. A purple gold light flashed. The head was split in half. Bai Yu violently cut out the spirit platform and the surrounding meridians. Next, he made a move with his left hand. A strong vitality instantly condensed in his left hand, with the help of the god of life and the spiritual world. This group of vitality is more intense, not only has vitality, but also has a magnificent healing effect. Seeing this, Kushina's heart beat wildly, tears burst out of her eyes. She rushed over without hesitation. Uzumaki Naruto also rushed over. Uchiha Mikoto on the side also looked anxious. Bai Ying and Bai Yu were pale and stunned. Tsunade frowned. No wonder Bai Yu would set up a layer of barrier in advance. Bai Yu ignored the changes outside and controlled the green light in his hand to cover Minato Namikaze's body. At the same time, the Taika ring appeared behind his head. Now Bai Yu only needs to use the power of the Dharma Eye, and the Taika ring will naturally appear. Temporarily put Minato Namikaze's soul into the Dharma Eye space. Start to repair Minato Namikaze's body. The increase in strength will make the repair work quickly completed. After Minato Namikaze's body, Bai Yu will beat the soul into the body again. Before the vitality of the body dissipates, because of the soul leaving the body, the soul will be comforted in the spirit again. After the vital cleansing and repair, Minato Namikaze's soul soon settled down. The vitality of the body also slowly recovered. Moreover, Bai Yu was kind enough to give Minato Namikaze a few decades of vitality. Soon, Bai Yu retracted the green light and put Minato Namikaze's body on the bed again. Retract your own magic power. Remove the barrier. Minato. Seeing her sister disappear, Kushina rushed to Minato Namikaze and shook him frantically. Uzumaki Naruto also joined the ranks of shaking Minato Namikaze with tears in his eyes. Uzumaki Naruto watched Minato Namikaze being cut into several pieces by Bai Yu, and then recovered. For a while, his heart was very complicated. He thought Bai Yu was going to kill Minato Namikaze, but then Minato Namikaze was fine again, and he was not sure what was wrong with Bai Yu. However, seeing that Minato Namikaze was breathing normally, just like usual, and a little younger, Kushina and Uzumaki Naruto did not act impulsively. But, I was really scared. It was too scary just now. If Hatake Kakashi or Nohara were here, they would definitely not shout or get excited. Because when Bai Yu treated Uchiha Obito, he had already enjoyed this kind of bloody and violent feast once. If Hatake Sakuma was here, he would definitely feel emotional. Sometimes, Bai Yu is really not a human being. Because people can't do such things. Stop shaking. Stop shaking. A gentle voice stunned everyone in the ward, except Bai Yu and Tsunade. Bai Yu naturally knew that Namikaze Minato would get up. And because Tsunade has medical knowledge as a basis, she naturally thought that the reason why Bai Yu wanted to cut open Namikaze Minato was to remove the broken part and then repair it. However, Bai Yu's method was too extreme. If Bai Yu didn't have strong strength to rely on, this would not be saving people, but killing Namikaze Minato. After so many years, that familiar voice made Kushina forget what to do with her hands, and also forgot to cry. She just stared blankly at the face on the hospital bed, smiling and slowly opening his eyes. Chapter 280 Uncle Bai Yu, have you ever been to the Pure Land? Minato. Woo woo. Kushina threw herself into Minato Namikaze's arms and cried loudly, as if she wanted to cry out all the sadness of taking care of him and Uzumaki Naruto alone for these years. Dad. Uzumaki Naruto was also excited and cried beside him. Minato Namikaze stretched out his hand. He gently embraced Kushina and held Uzumaki Naruto in his arms. He looked at Kushina and Uzumaki Naruto with a complicated expression, and his eyes were also red. As Bai Yu said, these years, he could only listen, not see, and could not move. He felt very distressed for Kushina's complaints, sadness, and helplessness at times. Although he didn't know what Uzumaki Naruto thought, through a few words, he knew that Uzumaki Naruto was a very strong child. He must have suffered a lot in his heart these years, otherwise he wouldn't always play some pranks. Sometimes, when he heard Uzumaki Naruto screaming, after being beaten by Kushina, Minato Namikaze knew that it was fortunate that he was unconscious, otherwise, cough cough, I'm off topic. Then Namikaze Minato looked at Bai Yu. You are very cruel. Although I didn't feel anything, I really felt a sharp pain just now. Namikaze Minato said to Bai Yu with a smile. Haha. Sorry, I forgot to seal your pain. Bai Yu felt embarrassed when he heard what Namikaze Minato said. Yes, although he couldn't feel the pain, when the soul returned to the body, all the meridians and nerves were recovering rapidly, and that kind of pain would also be felt by Namikaze Minato, but Bai Yu could only say that he was careless. But I still have to thank you. I guess you are the only one who can do this method in Konoha. But it's really amazing. I remember going to a beautiful place before. Where is it? Is it the Pure Land? Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Where is not the Pure Land? The Pure Land is a very desolate place. You entered my Dharma Eyes space at that time. If you go to the Pure Land, that would be bad. It's not easy to get your soul out of the Pure Land. Bai Yu also said with a smile. Uncle Bai Yu, have you been to the Pure Land? I have some doubts. Uzumaki Naruto said it bluntly. After this, Bai Yu and Bai Heiyo, who had just calmed down, glared at Uzumaki Naruto. Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto were stunned for a moment, and Bai Yu's mouth twitched. Isn't this equivalent to saying Uncle Bai Yu, have you died? I have some doubts. Kushina, who was crying in the arms of Minato Namikaze, raised her head and hit Uzumaki Naruto on the forehead when she heard this. What are you talking about? Your Uncle Bai Yu is so powerful, how could he not have been to the Pure Land? Still doubting? Kushina said with a serious look on her face, glaring at Uzumaki Naruto. At this moment, Bai Yu and Bai Heiyo were also stunned. They stared at the mother and son blankly. Bai Yu took a breath slowly, to prevent himself from being too depressed. That's right. Uncle Bai Yu is so powerful. How could he not have been there? Although Uzumaki Naruto was rubbing his forehead, he still smiled and said. Bai Yu's forehead was slowly flowing down at this time, with 3 lines of embarrassment. You don't mind it. The two of them didn't mean that. They just confirmed that you know more about the Pure Land, not, Namikaze Minato was also a little embarrassed. Going to the Pure Land, isn't it the same as dying? Look at me, because Minato woke up, my brain is a little unclear. And you, what's wrong? Kushina also reacted, smiled and said, then glared at Uzumaki Naruto, and hit him on the forehead again, angrily. It hurts mom, I just said I doubted it, it was you who confirmed it. Uzumaki Naruto said innocently. Very good. Everyone, Sorry, excuse me, I need to talk to Naruto. Kushina moved her wrist, her red hair moved without wind, and her eyes burst into a devilish red light. Kushina's current state made Minato Namikaze quite emotional. It had been many years since he had seen Kushina like this. Bai Yu was also a little emotional. He remembered that the last time was before the fourth Hokage was captured by his wife and disappeared for several days. Although Kushina was smiling, Bai-Ing and Bai-Heio couldn't help but tremble all over, especially Bai-Heio, who glanced at Tsunade silently. Coincidentally, Tsunade was also looking at him with a smile. Bai-Heio panicked now. Tsunade gently touched Bai-Heio's head, leaned over Bai-Heio's ear and whispered, "When you go home, you have to explain why you suddenly look at me at this moment." After that, Tsunade returned to normal, and Bai-Heio instantly dimmed, as if a black and white 5-cent special effect was added. Uzumaki Naruto saw Kushina walking towards him and wanted to ask Minato Namikaze for help. But Kushina quickly covered Uzumaki Naruto's mouth, then clamped Uzumaki Naruto, smiled at everyone, opened the door of the ward, closed it casually, walked to the next ward, and soon heard the screams of some children. "Minato, aren't you going to take care of it?" Bai Yu raised his eyebrows and asked deliberately. He knew that Namikaze Minato was afraid of Kushina. Don't worry, he can't be killed. Naruto is very resistant to beatings. When I was lying here, I often heard such voices. Besides, Kushina is educating the child, and I can't stop this right thing. Namikaze Minato embarrassedly found a shining reason for himself. Sure enough, after a while, Kushina came back with a bruised Uzumaki Naruto. Seeing that Uzumaki Naruto was still alive and kicking, Namikaze Minato felt distressed, but it was hard to say anything. Uzumaki Naruto sat on the bed beside him, looking at Namikaze Minato with a sullen face, meaning why don't you help me? Namikaze Minato could only respond with a helpless expression. This almost made Uzumaki Naruto go crazy. "How is it? Are you still uncomfortable?" Kushina returned to Namikaze Minato and asked with concern. "It's no big deal. I feel better now than before," Namikaze Minato said with a smile. "That's good. Now that you're well, you'll be discharged from the hospital." "Oh no, the house hasn't been cleaned for a long time." Kushina suddenly thought of the house that hadn't been cleaned for a long time. The thick dust could probably be used as a mattress directly. "Then today, let's deal with it here for one night. When we're discharged tomorrow, let's go home and clean up together," Namikaze Minato said gently. "Okay." Kushina was of course happy. Although Uzumaki Naruto was so old, Namikaze Minato fell into a coma when Uzumaki Naruto was still in his infancy. Kushina's feelings for Namikaze Minato still stayed at that time. If it were Bai Yu and the others, they probably wouldn't be so happy. Instead, they would say that Bai Yu was in the way. In order not to affect the reunion of the family, Bai Yu's family said goodbye. Because he already knew that Bai-Ki and Bai-Ing were going to perform the mission, Bai Yu didn't say much. Bai-Ing and Bai-Heio had been pestering Bai Yu. They had not received fatherly love for many years. Bai Yu could understand that and patiently coaxed the two little guys to sleep. Then he took Bai-Ing and Bai-Heio into their rooms. Chapter 281 Sincerity. After that, Bai Yu happily slept with Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto. All along, the master bedroom was kept very clean by Tsunade and Uchiha Makoto, but the two girls had never lived in this room, because once they arrived in this room, they could not help but think of Bai Yu. It was not until this afternoon that Bai Yu pulled them into the room. The next day, the three of them got up early. The matter of sending the children to school was naturally left to Bai Yu. Bai-Ing and Bai-Heio were half asleep and half awake, and they knew that Bai Yu would send them to school today, and they immediately became energetic. They were happy and clamored for Bai Yu to hold them to school. Although they were older, the two children had not been held by Bai Yu since they could remember, so they naturally wanted to try it. Bai Yu did not refuse and held them. As long as he held his own daughter and son, what would be wrong with holding them? After breakfast, Bai Yu held the two children in his arms, one in each hand, and held them in his arms. He walked out of the house with a cuckold step. "Master Bai Yu. Long time no see. Master Bai Yu. Send the children to school. Master Bai Yu. Have you had breakfast? Freshly steamed buns. Master Bai Yu. Along the way, those who knew Bai Yu well would greet Bai Yu cordially. Those who didn't know Bai Yu would be beaten up by others, and then they would be told about Bai Yu's experience. Bai Yu was also very patient, and answered with a smile. Seeing this, Bai Ying and Bai Heo were so proud. In the past, the two of them had suffered so much grievance, because others said they had no father. At this moment, the two little guys were so comfortable. Especially for everyone's enthusiasm for their father, Bai Ying and Bai Heo expressed their pride. I don't know why, since returning to Konoha yesterday, Bai Yu felt as if something was missing, but he never thought of it. When he arrived at the school gate, Bai Yu instantly met a guy with the same appearance as himself. Namikaze Minato. Unlike himself, Namikaze Minato was only holding Uzumaki Naruto. Oh, Minato. What a coincidence. Bai Yu shouted with a smile. Ah, yes. After so many years, this child has really gained a lot of weight. Namikaze Minato's smile was full of sunshine. Who said it wasn't? Back then, I held these two little guys with one hand. Now I have to use two hands. Haha. Bai Yu said half jokingly. Could it be that I have gained weight? Bai Ying thought silently in her heart. This is the sensitivity of girls. After Bai Ying finished thinking, she also looked at her arms and legs silently. You think I'm too heavy? That can only mean that you, Dad, are not strong enough. Humph. Uzumaki Naruto said proudly in Namikaze Minato's arms. Haha. Okay, Naruto. You should go into school. Namikaze Minato put down Uzumaki Naruto, gently touched Uzumaki Naruto's head, and said with a smile. Hey. It would be great if Mom and Dad's personalities were reversed. Uzumaki Naruto looked at Namikaze Minato, sighed, and said in a low voice. However, Uzumaki Naruto obviously underestimated the hearing of Namikaze Minato and Bai Yu. Namikaze Minato's face suddenly turned red. Bai Yu's face turned red too. It's just that one was embarrassed, and the other was holding it in. Okay. Jinga, Heoa. It's time for you to go to school. Bai Yu then threw Bai Heo, and then gently put Bai Ying on the ground. Oh my god. Dad. It's very dangerous. Why did you throw me? Why didn't you throw my third sister? Bai Heo flew into the air in an instant, got scared, recovered, and said to Bai Yu angrily. Smelly boy. You are a boy, and your third sister is a girl. How can it be the same? Boys should be upright. Girls should be cared for. Bai Yu poked Bai Heo's forehead. He laughed and scolded. Dad. Then you don't know what the third sister looks like after she gets angry. If you knew, I promise you. Just when Bai Heo wanted to talk a lot, he suddenly felt a strong murderous aura coming from Bai Ying. You don't know this, do you? As girls, being strong is their character, but care must still be taken care of. There are differences between men and women, do you understand? I know you don't understand. You don't listen carefully in class, right? Be careful, I will beat you up. Bai Yu said seriously. Forget it. Biased dad. Humph. Bai Heo said with a pout, turned his head, and walked towards the school, but when he turned his head, his expression turned into a smile. He was poked on the forehead by his dad again, so happy. Jinga. Go in. Bai Yu touched Bai Ying's head, and said with a smile. Yeah. Bai Ying also walked in happily. I'm leaving, Dad. Uzumaki Naruto waved to Namikaze Minato and said, then walked in very straightforwardly. Namikaze Minato looked at Uzumaki Naruto's back, and he really looked like Kushina. Let's go. Let's talk. Bai Yu looked at Namikaze Minato, and said with a smile. Let's go. Speaking of which, I've been away from Konoha for many years just like you. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Bai Yu smiled, and bought 2 drinks. In the deserted back mountain, he found a big tree, and sat on top of it. What do you think? Bai Yu took a sip of the drink, and asked Namikaze Minato insincerely. What do you think? Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Don't pretend, you know. Bai Yu scolded with a smile. The position of Hokage? Namikaze Minato said. Nonsense. Bai Yu said very impolitely. The 3rd generation will let me succeed to the throne again. He thought I couldn't hear it, but I actually heard it. He may have said it to me on purpose, but I can hear that he is very sincere. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Then what? Bai Yu continued to ask. Be busy for the village again. What else can I do? Namikaze Minato said without thinking. I'm talking about the third generation. Or let him go back to that small village to retire? Bai Yu asked. Do you have any good suggestions? Namikaze Minato looked at Bai Yu thoughtfully. He knew that Bai Yu would never say something for no reason, especially on this topic. An old man in the family is like a treasure. Let the third generation be the elder's advisor. Give advice. He is different from that old guy Dunzo. He is still sharp, and his eyes are not blurry and his mind is not clear. Bai Yu said very straightforwardly. But the tradition of Konoha. Before Namikaze Minato finished speaking, Bai Yu interrupted him and continued. What about the first generation? What about the second generation? What about Konoha before? Do you know what is missing? What is missing? Namikaze Minato's thoughts were like lightning, and he thought of a lot, but he was still not sure what Bai Yu was referring to. Sincerity. Do you know why I didn't give the dragon group any seals, but they can achieve better results than with seals? Do you know why Konoha's instability factors have become less and less despite your drastic measures since you took the throne? I treat every member of the dragon group sincerely and am willing to trust them. The deep-rooted problems of the various families in Konoha will be solved, and we will sincerely share the big pie of Konoha with them. Only sincerity can move others. Similarly, any system is built on sincerity, so that there will be no rebellion and resistance. Bai Yu said it sincerely, but those who are interested can understand the truth, as long as they think about it carefully. Namikaze Minato did not speak for a long time after hearing this, but savored Bai Yu's words. Chapter 282. Why does Kyuubi always have tears in his eyes? Minato, why do I always feel like I forgot something when I came back this time? Friends, relatives, wife, and children have all seen you, and they have saved you. What else? Bai Yu asked thoughtfully. Where is the nine-tailed fox? Have you seen it? The last time the Uchiha clan was attacked, the nine-tailed fox also came to help. I never thought that the nine-tailed fox, which has always been notorious, could actually help. Namikaze Minato said with emotion, with a flash of memories in his eyes. Ah. Yes. Nine-tailed fox. Where is the nine-tailed fox hiding? Bai Yu instantly became energetic. Why didn't I see the nine-tailed fox in the village? Where is this guy hiding? It should be in the back mountain. After all, the nine-tailed fox is quite large. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Slap. Bai Yu licked his tongue obscurely. Damn, how could I forget this top-level power bank? Bai Yu thought about it. Kurama, I'm back. Come here quickly. If you don't come, I'll catch you. Bai Yu's breath sank into his danshin, and his voice spread all around. Minato Namikaze on the side looked at Bai Yu with a wry smile and rubbed his ears. There was a dense forest on the back mountain. I tell you, I'm the famous nine-tailed fox. Nine-tailed fox was arrogantly bragging about his own abilities with the beasts in the forest. Suddenly, Bai Yu's shout was heard, and the whole fox was stunned. An inexplicable fear enveloped him. The 5-cent black and white special effects enveloped Nine-tailed fox again. Hearing this, Nine-tailed fox didn't care about bragging anymore. He ran straight towards Bai Yu. The huge body of Nine-tailed fox ran in the back mountain, and the ground was shaking. When Bai Yu's figure appeared in Nine-tailed fox's eyes, a trace of complex emotions enveloped Nine-tailed fox's heart. Nine-tailed fox. Long time no see. You look quite refreshed. Bai Yu slowly flew between Nine-tailed fox's two eyes. In order to prevent Nine-tailed fox from making eye contact, he flew back a distance. Just as Nine-tailed fox was about to say something to Bai Yu, several ninjas ran over from a distance. When several ninjas saw Nine-tailed fox, their hearts skipped a beat. If they hadn't known that Minato, Namikaze and Bai Yu were here, these ninjas would definitely think that the Nine-tails was going to attack the village again. Hokage-sama. The third Hokage wants you to go to his office to discuss matters. Several ninjas said to Minato Namikaze. Okay, I got it. You guys go get busy first. Minato Namikaze said gently. Yes. Several ninjas disappeared. I'm leaving first. Minato Namikaze said to Bai Yu. Okay. Don't forget to have skewers tonight. Bai Yu was happy, because now that Minato Namikaze is gone, he can recharge himself. He just likes this recharging feeling. Got it. Minato Namikaze said softly, and his figure gradually disappeared. Ninetales. It's just the two of us left. I forgot to ask you before, can you shrink your body? Bai Yu asked with a smile, which made Ninetales shudder. I can. What are you going to do? You. I'm telling you. Don't come over. With Ninetales' terrified eyes, Bai Yu rushed towards him. After a long time, Bai Yu was contentedly lying on the lawn, looking at the azure sky. Next to him was a little nine-tailed fox, twitching. Tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. Why does the nine-tailed fox often have tears in its eyes? On the streets of Konoha, Bai Yu smiled and greeted the enthusiastic people or ninjas around him. A little fox with a look of despair was tucked in his armpit. Is that the nine-tailed fox? It should be the nine-tailed fox judging by its fur. As expected of Lord Bai Yu, the nine-tailed fox, which was so big before, has become so small now. It is held in Lord Bai Yu's arms, and is harmless to humans and animals. Yes, Lord Bai Yu is still amazing. Hearing what everyone said, the nine-tailed fox's life became even more painful. Bai Yu went directly to the Bai group. Naruto's eyes moistened when he saw Bai Yu. When he heard the news yesterday that Bai Yu was back, Naruto was so excited, but he couldn't leave. During this period, he ate and lived at the Langteng Technology branch of the Bai group. Because Langteng Technology is going to launch a new project, he must keep following up. Baitao, you are finally back. Naruto and Bai Yu hugged each other. Then he said excitedly, Naruto is a good horse, and Bai Yu is his good horse trainer. Good horses are common, but good horse trainers are rare. I'm back. Thank you for your hard work during this period. Tell me how powerful La Consortium is now. Bai Yu said jokingly as he walked into the office with Naruto and Bai Yu talked and laughed. Now the Bai group's ninja tool projects, food projects, clothing projects, fresh vegetable projects, and technology projects have all gained a foothold in the 5 major countries. However, the ninja tool projects are only sold to civilian ninjas, and only the fresh vegetable projects can penetrate into small countries and villages. Computer networks have not yet been popularized in small villages and countries. Currently, Langteng Technology is developing a new technology, which is the communication equipment you mentioned before. However, there is a difficulty, that is, the scope is too small. Unlike the internet, I don't know much about it. Generally speaking, the internet only needs to build a virtual world. In this world, you can use computers to operate everything. But communication equipment is so small that even with sophisticated talisman techniques, it cannot achieve large-scale calls. And there are many ninjutsu that can be used for communication. Although I have been following up and understanding these, I have never been able to solve them. Naruto still spoke so logically and calmly. So that's it. That's right, voice transmission, mind communication, and mountain secrets, etc. It seems that communication equipment is superfluous. In this case, think about it from another angle. If teammates can communicate with each other in the game Ninja League, wouldn't it be more interesting? Bai Yu suddenly thought of the game in his previous life, where he couldn't turn on the microphone. He said with a smile, you mean, add this call function to the network? You are really worthy of being Baitao. Naruto's eyes lit up and said admiringly. Feeling the admiring gaze, Bai Yu felt a little guilty. Yes, not only this, but also the dating software in the computer. What is it called? Yes, it's called Little Penguin, right? What do you think will happen if this software is added with voice function? Isn't it? Since communication equipment is superfluous, it's better to update the game headset and connect a microphone. Bai Yu said with a smile. Great Baitao. Naruto said with a thumbs up. Keep a low profile. By the way, you just said that ninja tools can only be sold to civilian ninjas? What's the matter? Bai Yu said awkwardly at first, and then asked. It's like this, a ninja tool shop has no problem with its craftsmanship, but each shop has its own channels. In addition, there are craftsmen in the black market who specialize in making strange ninja tools. So apart from civilian ninjas, few ninjas from large families specifically ask us to make ninja tools. But we don't have this problem in Konoha village. Naruto said. Bai Yu didn't say anything after hearing this, but pondered the pros and cons of this. Chapter 283 Namikaze Minato returns to the position of Hokage. After thinking for a long time, Bai Yu spoke. In this case, each ninja tool shop should ask the masters who make ninja tools to make 3 treasures of the shop for me. They must be refined and practical. They will not be sold, but they must be exhibited. Be sure to pay attention to safety. Don't let those with bad intentions steal or rob them. Those who know the real goods will naturally understand, and those who don't know the goods don't need to pay attention. Let's see the reaction after the exhibition first. Bai Yu said, without a treasure of the shop, and no real skills, who will care about opening a shop? With a treasure of the shop, the grade is different. We are a ninja tool shop with a treasure of the shop. They are all made by the masters of the shop. This is called ability. If you want a treasure of the shop, you can come to the auction and only sell one. This is Bai Yu's idea. However, Naruhirakoa still can't fully understand Bai Yu's intention, but for Bai Yu's orders, Naruhirakoa executes 100%. I understand, Beitao. Naruhirakoa said with a smile. By the way, since technology projects cannot be popularized, let's change our thinking. Let's build an internet cafe. We provide the place, equipment, and people to apply for information cards, one for each person, and deposit money in the card. Then when you come to use the computer, you can swipe the card and charge by the hour. When you don't want to play, you can swipe the card to log off. When Bai Yu said this, Naruhirakoa was a little confused. Bai Yu had to tell Naruhirakoa about some of the management systems, consumption, service items, etc. of the internet cafe in his previous life. Beitao, sometimes, I really want to know what's wrong with your brain. How did you come up with such a good plan? Naruhirakoa took a breath and said. Bai Yu naturally wouldn't say that he was just plagiarizing. After chatting with Naruhirakoa for a while, Naruhirakoa couldn't hold back his workaholic personality and ran to implement the 3 plans Bai Yu just mentioned. The easiest thing to solve is the ninja tool shop. Just notify it. The most difficult thing is the voice function in the production of the internet cafe system. But I'm not afraid of difficulty. I'm most afraid of not being able to implement it. And Bai Yu's plan is obviously feasible. This made Naruhirakoa full of energy again. Bai Yu had no fun staying in the empty office. It was almost time now, and Konoha Chuanchuanzang was about to open. With the popularity of Konoha Chuanchuanzang, Bai Yu had to say in advance that he wanted to book the place today, because there was also a grand skewers party in the evening. So Bai Yu found Naruhirakoa who was busy, and told him about the matter. Naruhirakoa's mouth twitched. Beitao, how about assigning you a secretary? The implication was, big brother, you still want me to do such a small matter? You can just find someone. As soon as Naruhirakoa said this, the ears of the beautiful girls in the office immediately perked up. Bai Yu scratched his head awkwardly and scolded with a smile. Smelly boy, I told you to do it quickly. If you assign me a secret technique, Tsunade and Makoto will kill me. I'm going home, and I'll go to the restaurant on time. After Bai Yu finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Naruhirakoa with a smile on his face and a group of disappointed girls. Bai Yu once again returned home with the Ninetales between his arms. No one in the Bai group had expected that what Bai Yu was holding in his arms was the Ninetales. They just thought that it was a gift that Bai Yu bought for the child. Otherwise, the entire group would probably go crazy. After returning home, after the indescribable game, Bai Yu embraced Tsunade and Makoto and began to think about how to bring Meditarumi back reasonably. Bai Yu thought about it and couldn't figure it out because Bai Yu really couldn't think of who in the current Mist Village was capable of being the Mizukage. What are you thinking about? Tsunade asked softly. You must be thinking about the legendary Mist Village's #1 beauty, Makoto said sourly. Tsunade also reacted instantly, snorted coldly, turned her face to the side, and stopped talking. Makoto was the same as Tsunade. Seeing this, Bai Yu was helpless and didn't explain anything. Bai Yu was best at making others submissive. Haha. Hurry up. Tsunade, Makoto. Get up quickly, or you'll be late. You have to pick up the kids and go to the banquet. Bai Yu looked at the time and quickly got up from the bed. He dressed vigorously, but looking at Tsunade and Makoto, they were exhausted. Bai Yu had no choice but to use the power of Yang to wash the tired bodies of the two women. Fortunately, Tsunade and Orochimaru's cultivation was not low, and they could keep up with Bai Yu's speed. The three of them grabbed Bai Yu and Bai Yu, who were standing at the door, and left quickly, as if they were snatching children. The people around were stunned. Was it an illusion just now? And Bai Yu and Bai Yu, the two children, looked at the rapidly receding scenery around them with a confused look on their faces. Just when they wanted to shout, they saw Bai Yu's back in front of them, and the familiar embrace. Only then did they realize that it was their own parents who had snatched them away. This made the two children roll their eyes and express their helplessness. Seeing the friends and relatives coming to Konoha Chu and Xiang one after another, Bai Yu heaved a sigh of relief. He finally made it in time. Tsunade and Orochimaru were more blushing. When everyone is together, they naturally chat, talk about everything and drink. Only the Akimichi father and son were eating skewers seriously. Their serious expressions, focused eyes, and skillful movements made people around them reluctant to disturb them. The next day, Sarutobi Hiruzen convened a general meeting. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Namikaze Minato, Bai Yu and Konoha's senior executives stood on the podium. Sarutobi Hiruzen stepped forward, pointed at the microphone, and began to speak. Everyone. The will of fire. Well, this part can be ignored. Okay. Next I will announce an important decision. Now that the 4th Hokage has recovered, I can retire. Previously, under the leadership of the 4th Hokage and Elder Bai Yu, Konoha developed very well. I believe that the future of Konoha will be even better. Now, please let Elder Bai Yu, the 4th Hokage, speak. After 3 hours of passionate speech on the will of fire, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally got to the point, but when he saw Bai Yu sleeping in the corner, Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth twitched slightly, and he quickly changed his words without making a sound. Namikaze Minato walked forward slowly with the same smile, still making people feel warm in the heart, but the difference is that the current Namikaze Minato also vaguely reveals the momentum of a superior. Namikaze Minato's speech was simple and straightforward. The essence of the will of fire was repeated, and he recalled the past and looked forward to the future. However, Namikaze Minato's expression changed and he said, from now on, first, abolish the rule that after the Hokage abdicates, the previous generation of Hokage lives outside the Konoha village. Arrange accommodation in the village. Second, before each Hokage takes office, corresponding adjustments must be made to the ninjas in various positions in Konoha. The adjustment results require the consent of the Dragon Team Captain and the Anbu Captain before they can be implemented. Third, I request the 3rd Hokage to become Konoha's advisory elder. Fourth, appoint Elder Shiraha to take over the position of Dragon Team Captain again. Fifth, appoint Hatake Tsukumo as Konoha's elder. These 5 strategies surprised not only the ninjas in the audience, but also the senior officials behind them. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shiraha, and Hatake Tsukumo all had their eyes lit up. Nerishikaku kept observing Namikaze Minato and Shiraha. There is definitely something fishy about these two guys. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284. 2 Hokages still cheating the common people. This operation of Minato Namikaze can be said to be extremely beautiful. It not only guarantees the status of the position of Hokage, but also guarantees the warmth and coldness of human feelings. He is both magnanimous and strict with himself. As for the captain of the dragon group, Bai Yu, and the captain of the Anbu, Hatake Tsukumo, who are these two people? One is Bai Yu, who is known as the tailless tailed beast Konoha death god in the ninja world, and the other is Hatake Tsukumo, who is known as the battlefield Konoha White Fang. The relationship between Bai Yu and Minato Namikaze is ironclad, and they are also very good partners at work. As an old and famous ninja, Hatake Tsukumo is absolutely loyal to Konoha, and Hatake Tsukumo has always been conscientious, and has no complaints. Moreover, both of them can make correct judgments. In the future, the successes of the Dragon Group and the Anbu will definitely be able to choose a person with a similar temperament to the two of them. After all, the ninjas they lead will be more or less like themselves. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed in his heart. He is still old. He no longer has the courage of a young man. As an old fox, how could he not know that Minato Namikaze's operation was a disguised way to consolidate his position, win over the Konoha high level, and make the Konoha ninja closer to him? This plenary meeting ended successfully. At the same time, Sarutobi Hiruzen also quickly changed his identity. As soon as the meeting was over, he took a teacup and seriously pulled Bai Yu, who was sleepy, to the Hokage's office. Elder Bai Yu, you can't do this. You must be serious about your work and cheer up. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen arrived at the meeting room, he said to Bai Yu earnestly. Bai Yu was so uncomfortable. He thought, should I kill this old guy too? Forget it, this old guy is pretty good. Little did he know that in a few years, the third generation. If you let me fight, I will be the first to rush up. But let me deal with the affairs of the village. It's better to let me go to the dragon group to train those guys. However, you have sent everyone out, and I'm now a commander without troops. Bai Yu said lazily. You guy. You are obviously very good at handling the affairs of the village, but you are like this. Sarutobi Hiruzen said helplessly. Third generation sir. You is just like this. I believe you will not stand idly by when encountering things. Namikaze Minato said with a smile on the side. Forget it. But now Konoha seems to be very stable. But there are also several hidden dangers. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes and said shrewdly. I'm listening here. I will do whatever you tell me to do. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen wanted to speak, Bai Yu's lazy voice came into the ears of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Namikaze Minato. Helplessness flashed in the eyes of the two people, but they all knew that Bai Yu was definitely not as lazy as he seemed. That's right. Konoha seems to be getting more and more prosperous. However, no one has ever thought of being prepared for danger in times of peace. Once a war breaks out, I'm afraid they won't have the same tenacious spirit as before. This is the first. Second, I heard that the Fire Country Daimyo's mansion has made new moves and is privately recruiting powerful wandering ninjas. According to intelligence, they have formed a very powerful group of 12 guardian ninjas. I'm afraid they will make trouble for Konoha next. Third, the Sand Village of the Wind Country, the Cloud Village of the Lightning Country, and the Rock Village of the Earth Country have not only planted spies in Konoha, but are also starting to plant spies in the Mist Village. They are still planning some conspiracy in private. Fourth, Konoha's current defense force. Today's Konoha village has expanded at least twice as much as before, but the defense barrier has always been the original range. Moreover, in today's peaceful times, many people are unwilling to become ninjas and prefer to work for the Bai Family Foundation. Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking and looked at Bai Yu. Bai Yu touched his nose awkwardly and didn't say anything when he heard this. As for external affairs, I will arrange people to pay attention. There will be no disputes in the Far Country Daimyo mansion. As for the defensive force, you have to work with the sealing squad to rearrange the barrier. Namikaze Minato said, after thinking for a while. Understood. Bai Yu nodded and said, it seems that there will be no quiet days again. No, the matter of bringing many back must be accelerated. Bai Yu thought to himself about the problems that arise in peacetime. To be honest, this is the first time I enjoy the tranquility brought by peace. Sarutobi Hiruzen drank a sip of tea, took out his pipe, lit it skillfully, and then said with emotion, me too. The changes in Konoha now really have both advantages and disadvantages. Namikaze Minato also smiled helplessly. Bai Yu looked at the old and the young beside him, and felt infinite sympathy in his heart. Poor people, they only enjoy peacetime now. I think Bai Yu enjoyed it for 20 years in my previous life, before being struck by lightning. About the problems that arise in peacetime, I do have some suggestions. Bai Yu touched his nose and said. Namikaze Minato and Sarutobi Hiruzen did not speak, but looked at Bai Yu calmly, waiting for the next words. It's like this, we can make some promotional videos. Make some of the cruelty of war and some of the Enbu missions that can be exposed into promotional videos. In some busy streets of the village, put a large screen to play it in a loop. Add an online news section to Konoha Media. Publish the promotional video on the internet. Then make a column in Konoha Times to promote it. Make 3 promotional videos. One is called The Cruelty of War, one is called The Eternal Will of Fire, and one is called War in Peacetime. The purpose is to let people understand war, instill the will of fire, let everyone know that there are casualties in peacetime, and there is no peacetime without ninjas to defend their homes. The column in the newspaper is called Those Unknown Peace Wars. The content is to write about the sacrifices made by ninjas in peacetime to defend Konoha. The purpose is also to let everyone know that peace is hard won, and there is no peace without ninjas. There must be some people full of the will of fire who will risk their lives to become ninjas. Bai Yu said proudly. Shameless Bai Yu started to plagiarize the wisdom of a great country again. Then this promotional video and the newspaper's promotional column. Thank you, you. Namikaze Minato said affirmatively with a smile on his face. Bai Yu was just about to get rid of this troublesome matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen spoke. You. Minato and I both trust you. Besides, in the whole Konoha, who is better than you at this matter? The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. By the way, Minato, let's go to the ninja school. I heard that there are many new seedlings. Don't delay Bai Yu from dealing with this matter. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, and his figure disappeared. Minato. Bai Yu saw Sarutobi Hiruzen disappear and hurriedly grabbed Namikaze Shimon. But he never thought that he only grabbed a phantom. Bai Yu saw that the smiling guy had a three-pronged kunai with the characteristics of flying thunder god in his hand. At the original position of Namikaze Minato, only a three-pronged kunai was left, proving that Namikaze Minato was still there. Two guys with dirty hearts. Two Hokages are cheating the common people. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Bai Yu felt angry and helpless. Chapter 285. Finally thought of a solution. Bai Yu was entangled for a long time and had no choice but to do it himself. Bai Yu first went to the empty Dragon Group base. He came to the intelligence department and checked the tasks that could be exposed and were suitable. After taking a few scrolls, he came to the Konoha media branch, found the person in charge, gave him 2 scrolls, and then told him his ideas. After he was done, don't rush to make a new newspaper. Let him take a look at the draft first, and then make it. Then Bai Yu came to the Bai group again, came to the office, and called Naruhiro indirectly. He told Naruhiro his ideas again. Bai Tao, is this promotional video that kind of movie? Naruhiro thought for a while and asked. Bai Yu heard it. Movie? What movie? Bai Yu thought for a long time. He slapped his thigh and forgot that there was no movie in this world. Movie is shadow play. It seems that he is also responsible for making the movie. Fortunately, Langteng Technology has developed a lot of advanced equipment. It's not a movie. I'm going to make an unprecedented short film. Go gather all the employees of Langteng Technology's art department to the conference room. I'll teach them a lesson first. Bai Yu took a deep breath and said, while slapping himself in his heart, let you be rude. Let you be rude. Let's see if you will be rude in the future. Okay. Narapingchuan just listened to Bai Yu's description and became interested in this unprecedented short film that Bai Yu said. After a while, all the staff gathered in the conference room and waited for Bai Yu's arrival. Bai Yu didn't let them wait too long. When Bai Yu entered, wow, the art department was actually all girls. Come to think of it, in this world, men are generally big, and to be able to make the game screen so beautiful, it really needs these careful girls. If this was in the previous life, cough cough. Seeing Bai Yu, without exception, all the girls' eyes were full of peach hearts. Ahem. Okay, let me tell you. Bai Yu saw these girls and had to show some of his own majesty. Sure enough, the domineering side leaked, making the girls' peach hearts shine. Seeing this, Bai Yu had no choice but to bite the bullet and start talking. However, as he was talking, he found that these girls were not listening at all. Let's get started. Bai Yu's expression changed, and he suddenly raised his voice and said, huh? What? Oh no, I didn't listen just now. This was the first reaction of these girls. Bai Yu looked around and saw girls with anxious faces, but embarrassed to speak. Bai Yu did not speak until some girls were about to cry. Bai Yu spoke. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Although I'm handsome, I still have to work seriously. I'll tell you again from the beginning. Bai Yu said with a smile. These girls were relieved and no longer listened to Bai Yu's words seriously like before. At the same time, they said in their hearts that Lord Bai Yu was really gentle. After Bai Yu finished speaking, these talented girls were already conceiving the picture. But they still didn't quite understand what Bai Yu said about shooting, angles, and camera positions. After Bai Yu asked everyone again, Bai Yu decided to shoot a few short films in the company to let everyone get familiar with them. In a week, Bai Yu was the director, the cameraman, the screenwriter, the actor, and the director of post-production. Finally, the girls in the art department understood this process. When the short film came out, everyone watched it with relish. Some people didn't know until now that their work life was so interesting. After Bai Yu told Naruto, who was very excited about his requirements, he went home. After so long, I can finally go home and live with my wife and children in peace. No, I can finally plan how to bring Meditarumi back to Konoha in peace. Bai Yu looked at the sky in the yard and pondered. He didn't know what other methods could bring Meditarumi back except violence. Forget it, go find the Ninetales to recharge. This guy should have run to the Uchiha clan again. Ninetales! Exclamation mark. Bai Yu's eyes suddenly flashed with a gleam of light. Tailed beast. Yes. The Six Tails Jinchuriki is a peace-loving guy, so he should be a very good candidate. Haha. Bai Yu, am really a genius. But if the Jinchuriki becomes the Mizukage, well, it has happened before. Whoever disagrees, I will stab him. Thinking of this, Bai Yu felt relieved and caught the Ninetales back and then recharged it. He threw the Ninetales, who often had tears in the corners of its eyes, on the sofa in the living room and left it alone. Uchiha Mikoto saw the miserable Ninetales on the sofa and couldn't help but find it funny. Then she took out some desserts from the refrigerator and handed them to the Ninetales. She knew that the Ninetales loved desserts. The Ninetales was instantly revived with full blood when it saw the desserts. This was just excitement, and the chakra had not recovered yet. After eating the dessert, "Hey, woman, do you have any more?" the Ninetales said proudly. But she didn't know that her small appearance and the appearance of some cream on the corners of her mouth was simply adorable. Haha, wait for me to buy you a new one, Uchiha Mikoto said with a smile. I'll go with you. Kyuubi grinned and followed Uchiha Mikoto happily. In fact, Kyuubi wanted to eat it directly in the dessert shop. Bai Yu, who was in the yard, saw Kyuubi following Uchiha Mikoto like a tail and knew that Uchiha Mikoto was going to take Kyuubi to buy dessert again. He smiled and didn't say anything. After such a long time of contact, Bai Yu found that Kyuubi was actually like a proud child. The former fierce reputation was just because of his pride and unwillingness to explain, coupled with people's desire for power and malice, which led to Kyuubi's appearance. Another 7 days. The streets and alleys of Konoha are full of large and small screens, and the screens are playing 3 epic promotional videos in turn. The exciting pictures, the soul-shaking scenes. They are worthy of the talented girls in the art department. Many people have started to make reservations in advance before the ninja school recruits new students. And the streets and alleys are talking about these things, which makes Namikaze Minato and Saruto be heroes and smile at each other in the office. You, so amazing. Namikaze Minato said with a smile. Yeah. This kind of job is for him. Saruto be Hirozen also said calmly, and the two smiled again. How could they not want to be like Bai Yu, just fighting? After all, they used to live in the war era, and doing these things was simply killing them. The next day, the ninjas who cleared out spies came back. With the promotional film as a premise, the passionate people of Konoha, after knowing the news of the ninjas' return, spontaneously went to welcome them. Moreover, it was very enthusiastic. The Dragon Group Ninja and the Anbu Ninja were embarrassed. The silly look was taken by someone with ulterior motives. The person with ulterior motives was naturally from the media company. That night, they started editing new content. The Guardian of the Home, the unknown silly side. When the Dragon Group Ninjas knew the news of Bai Yu's return, a group of animals swarmed towards the Bai mansion. On the roof, on the street, and even using secret techniques. The most excited ones were Baiki and Baiyao, as well as Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Raizumi. Chapter 286 Playing with Birds. Dad. Bai Yu left the warm bed and basked in the sun in the yard. Suddenly, he heard two excited voices, and then two figures threw themselves into his arms. Bai Yu gently embraced the people in his arms with a kind smile on his face. "Are you back? Is there any danger?" Bai Yu patted Beiki and Baiyao on the back and asked softly. "No." Beiki said in tears. "Dad, Jao misses you so much." Baiyao also said in tears. "So do I. Stand up quickly, and let Dad see how tall you have grown." Bai Yu said softly. Beiki and Baiyao stood up, and wiped the tears from their eyes. Bai Yu first looked at Beiki, with broad shoulders and a handsome face. The childishness of the past was completely gone. "What a handsome boy." Bai Yu nodded with satisfaction. "Great. Kia has become much more handsome. But what's up with the murderous-aura on him?" Bai Yu said, and found that a trace of murderous-aura flashed in Beiki's eyes. This murderous-aura was not intentional, but it flowed out naturally, and could not be controlled. Bai Yu's voice became a little serious. "Daddy, let me tell you. Big brother is now, Baiyao was about to say something, but was covered by Beiki's mouth. "Kia, stop it," Bai Yu said in a deep voice. Beiki then let go of his hand in dismay, and then stood aside. Baiyao looked at Beiki proudly, stuck out her tongue, and then spoke. "Daddy, you don't know, Big brother inherited your genes, and he fights whenever he sees a fight, as if he is addicted to fighting. Especially when performing a mission, he rushes faster than anyone else." Baiyao said quickly. After speaking, he made a face at Beiki. Bai Yu heard the words, and the corner of his mouth twitched. "What do you mean by inheriting my genes?" "That's right, fighting is very cool. But, Kia, I'll talk to you later. Let me see Jao first." Bai Yu immediately knew what was going on. Then he began to look at Baiyao. After looking at him for a while, Bai Yu sighed. "Hey, Uchiha Itachi is really lucky." As soon as Bai Yu finished speaking, Baiyao's cheeks flushed. In the yard, there were two sounds of landing. Uchiha Itachi stood there awkwardly, touched his nose, and didn't say anything, and his face was also a little red. Uchiha Izumi stood beside her pretty, and Bai Yu nodded kindly at her. Uchiha Izumi's face also flushed, but when she saw Bai Yu, she was also very excited. "Why, brat, I was wrong. My daughter is so beautiful, but she likes you. Don't you feel lucky?" Bai Yu said with an indignant look. "How could it be? Uncle Bai Yu, I feel honored that Jao can favor me. I will treat Jao well for the rest of my life." Uchiha Itachi was rarely flustered, and hurriedly said respectfully, "TSK." Bai Yu was about to say something. Baiyao ran over, blushed and shook Bai Yu's arm and said coquettishly, "Daddy, don't say anything." Bai Yu was so angry. "Beitao, what's wrong? You look angry when you just met Uchiha Genji, Hinata Asakawa, Nerashikaki, Yamanaka Hiji, Akimichi Ichito, Kuramaka Okumo. In Ozuka River, a Buranchi appeared in the yard in an orderly manner, and it was Uchiha Genji who was talking. "Oh, in an orderly manner, do you want to go back to the furnace?" Bai Yu's eyes flashed with a look of emotion, and he said half jokingly, "No way, no way. Beitao, look at you. You are still as handsome as before. Why do you always think about going back to the furnace? Such a dangerous idea." When Inozuka River heard about going back to the furnace, he was not good at all, and hurriedly approached Bai Yu with a smile on his face and said meanly, "Haha, oh my, I can't believe it. The famous Dragon Claw Inozuka can also do this. So embarrassing. There is no doubt that the god of Ha, Uchiha Obito, is here. Master, Uchiha Shizu, Hatake Kakashi, Tachibana Yukio, my guy, Sarutobi Asuma, Yuhi Kunai, and Nohara pretended not to know Uchiha Obito, walked up to Bai Yu and said respectfully, but there was a flash of excitement in their eyes. They are much more mature now. Great. They are all here. Very good. The children back then have grown up now. They can stand on their own. I'm so relieved. Bai Yu is also free of Uchiha Obito, looking at Uchiha Shizu and the others, and said with a smile. Bai Yu doesn't want to get angry, because of a god of Ha. Master, and me. I'm also very powerful now. I can finally play with birds now. Uchiha Obito approached Bai Yu with a proud face and said meanly, "Play with birds. One sentence. Make men look contemptuous. Make girls blush. Urahibito also felt that his words had some strange taste. He explained quickly. No, I can do this. Urahibito said eagerly. He stretched out his hand, and the temperature around him began to rise. In Urahibito's hand, a lifelike bird appeared. In Urahibito's hand, it was tumbling up and down. Seeing this, Bai Yu was relieved. If his apprentice really wanted to, that would be too embarrassing. Not bad. Very good. But this temperature still has some effect on the surroundings. You are not enough. You have to do this. Bai Yu nodded approvingly, but as a master, he was naturally stricter. Bai Yu slowly raised his hand, and in his hand was a bat with a purple flame tumbling, which was much more delicate than Urahibito's, and the temperature around it was not affected. The power is restrained. The control is precise. Understand it yourself. Bai Yu gave Urahibito 12 words. Let Urahibito fall into deep thought. Beitao. Beitao. We are here too. In an instant, Bai Yu's yard was full of people. All the other ninjas of the dragon group came. Great. After so many years, the brothers are here. Better today than tomorrow. Tonight, there will be a barbecue party at the dragon group base. Genji, you take them to prepare. Shisu, Kakashi, you guys go too. I'll take your two sisters-in-law there later. I just happen to have something to tell you. Bai Yu greeted everyone for a while, and said with a big hand. Okay. When the people of the dragon group heard Bai Yu's words, they all shouted excitedly, and then dispersed to prepare things. In their hearts, Bai Yu's status is the closest to them except for their parents. At this time, there are only 4 people left in the yard. Beiki, Baiyo, Uchiha Itachi, and Uchiha Izumi. Itachi, Izumi. Wait a minute, come with me. It's done early as a family. The facts are clear. No matter how unhappy Bai Yu is, he can't do anything about his girl being taken away by someone. Bai Yu's words made the 4 people blush, but Bai Yu still rolled his eyes at Uchiha Itachi. Bai Yu was very angry about this guy who took his daughter away, but he could do nothing about it. Looking at the time, Bai Yu asked Beiki and Baiyo to pick up Baiing and Baiyo. Beiki and Baiyo nodded, and their figures disappeared. Itachi, I ask you, is there anything different when Beiki fights with others? Bai Yu knew that Uchiha Itachi seemed very cold, but he was very warm inside. He was a person who was cold on the outside but warm on the inside, and he was also very meticulous. He asked with a little seriousness. Uchiha Itachi heard the words and immediately recalled in his heart. Uchiha Izumi was also recalling. Chapter 287 Source. After a long while, Uchiha Itachi said calmly, I found that Brother Ki was sometimes crazy when fighting. It was different from the beginning. How should I put it? Uchiha Izumi followed up. He just wanted to kill the enemy. There were a few times when he was performing tasks in the Anbu, and he didn't have to tangle with the bandits, but Brother Ki insisted on killing all the bandits. Yes, sometimes when he was looking for seniors in the village to learn from each other and improve his combat experience, I could see the murderous intent in Brother Ki's eyes. Uchiha Itachi said methodically. Uncle, is there something wrong with Brother Ki? Is it serious? Uchiha Izumi asked worriedly. It's nothing serious, I know. Don't worry. With me here, how can Ki be in danger? Bai Yu said with a smile. But he was thinking in his heart. This situation is not dangerous, but it is actually very dangerous. It is not dangerous. Baiki's current situation is that he is too murderous and can't control himself. In the Anbu, many ninjas have this problem. After all, the mission is there. This situation is the legendary verge of going crazy. That's good, that's good. Uchiha Izumi finally felt relieved. Uncle, when will the dragon group recruit new members? The 4 of us have met several friends with good strength and good character from the Anbu. Uchiha Itachi said. Haha, don't worry, don't worry. Bai Yu was happy when he heard it. We are really a family, brother Sakumo, don't hate me too much. Haha. Bai Yu thought about it and asked Uchiha Itachi to invite his family to the dragon group base. After thinking about it again, he asked Beiki and Uchiha Izumi to call Minato Namikaze over as well. At night, the members of the dragon group were mixed with joy and sorrow. The joy was that Bai Yu was in charge of the dragon group again. The worry was that Bai Yu might ask them to go back to the training camp at any time. After a night of revelry, everyone got drunk. Bai Yu called Beiki aside. "Dad, what's wrong? By the way, Dad, can you give me some pointers?" Beiki suddenly thought of his father's terrifying strength. Instead of looking for people to spar with all over Konoha, it would be better to fight with his own father. Bai Yu hit Beiki on the back of the head. "Smelly boy, sit cross-legged and calm down," Bai Yu said unhappily. "Be gentle, it hurts." Dad. Beiki rubbed the back of his head aggrievedly and then sat cross-legged obediently, calming down. For a long time. "Dad, I can't calm down. My mind is full of thoughts of sparring with you." Beiki touched his head awkwardly and said. Bai Yu thought about it. It's better to let it go than to block it, so let this little brat burst out. Bai Yu smiled and said, "Okay, then let me see how much you have improved in the past few years. You saw your strength, little brat. Haha, okay. Be careful." Beiki's eyes flashed with excitement. With a shake of his hand, the spear was in his hand. After saying that, Beiki's expression suddenly became serious. Beiki knew that Bai Yu's strength was unfathomable. A gun shadow turned purple and rushed towards Bai Yu. The gun shadow turned a dragon shape. At the same time, a purple light flashed on his body, and a majestic light armor covered his whole body. Good boy. Bai Yu's eyes lit up, and he knew that Beiki had made great progress in these years. But why are there some feminine moves between these moves? However, Bai Yu patted his head and thought of it. It must be Baking Cheng who taught him. Bai Yu stood still and stretched out his right hand, accompanied by a purple sword energy. Bang! After the fight, a dull sound was made. Fast as the wind. Beiki shouted, and his hands were linked together, stabbing out countless gun shadows. Too many fake moves. Bai Yu saw at a glance that the gun shadow was a real move, and said lightly, and drew a sword energy with his right hand. Until the sword energy passed through Beiki, a change occurred, and the sword energy passed, as if it was passing through the air. Beiki began to become distorted. Blinking body technique. Good boy. Bai Yu's eyes lit up. Bai Yu noticed that, just when Bai Yu swung out the sword energy, Beiki used the blinking body technique. This fighting consciousness is worthy of being his own. Bai Yu sighed in his heart. Beiki appeared behind Bai Yu and swept across with a gun. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely cut him off in the middle. Bai Yu calmly swung his hand back, and a sword energy shook Beiki back. Bai Yu turned around. His eyes narrowed, and the murderous aura in Beiki's eyes surged again. "Human spirit!" Beiki shouted in a deep voice. In an instant, beside Bai Yu, a purple figure, a warrior with red light, appeared beside Bai Yu, and a cold light slashed at Bai Yu's neck. I said, "I finally found the source." Bai Yu looked at the strong murderous aura on the human spirit and smiled. After fighting with Beiki for a few moves, Bai Yu found that, although Beiki's moves were fierce, he had no murderous intentions, but the murderous aura in his eyes made Beiki involuntarily move ruthlessly. In that case, then alright. Wash away your murderous aura. Bai Yu thought to himself, and the Teikai ring appeared behind his head, and the Teikai pattern hidden in his eyes quickly enlarged. A suction force sucked the human spirit into his own armor eye space. Beiki was slightly stunned, and fought with Bai Yu for a few more moves, and the murderous aura in his eyes gradually dissipated. After his eyes became clear, the moves he made gradually became more righteous. It was no longer as fierce as before. Bai Yu smiled, and fed Beiki with peace of mind. On the other hand, he separated some of his mind, and entered the Dharma Eye space. As soon as Bai Yu entered the Dharma Eye space, he saw the human spirit slashing at Bai Yu fiercely. Human spirit. Bai Yu pushed the human spirit back a few steps, and shouted sternly at the same time. Roar. The human spirit's eyes were red, and he roared angrily, without any familiarity with Bai Yu. Seeing this, Bai Yu frowned, waved his hand, and the power of yin and yang turned into silk threads, wrapping the human spirit. Refine. Bai Yu shouted. His squeak, the murderous aura on the human spirit, was like ice meeting fire, and mist rose up. At the same time, he let out a painful howl. After a moment, the murderous aura dissipated. Bai Yu retracted his yin and yang power. The human spirit inserted the sword into the ground, half knelt on the ground, and gasped heavily. He looked up at Bai Yu, was stunned for a moment, and then shouted in surprise, "Master Bai Yu." He was very grateful to the man who had given him his name. But the next second he was stunned. Where is this? Awake. This is in my Dharma Eye space. How did it happen? The murderer Sora blinded my mind. Bai Yu walked forward, patted the human spirit on the shoulder, and said with a smile, I don't know either. Every time the master asked me to go out to fight, I felt a cool breath enveloping me. It was difficult to control. I could only let this breath slowly dissipate over time. But in recent years, the master seems to have fought more. I don't know what to do, so I don't even know what I did during the time when my mind disappeared. The human spirit said with a wry smile. The human spirit that appeared in Bai Yu's Dharma Eye space didn't know. It was just fighting instinctively. Bai Yu nodded, didn't say anything, thinking, and the human spirit didn't disturb Bai Yu. When he saw this, he knew that Bai Yu would not harm him, even though he was under great pressure in this space. Chapter 288, Purification Technique. I know how to solve this problem, but it will take a few days. You go back first. Bai Yu thought for a long time, and said with a smile. After that, he released the human spirit. In just a few minutes, Bai Yu was already lying on the ground, panting, unable to move. It was not because of Bai Yu's beating, but because he was tired, physically exhausted, and his chakra was almost gone. Dad, you are too strong, Bai Yu said, while lying on the ground, panting. Silly child. During this period, you are not allowed to spar with others or perform missions. I will tell Minato. Bai Yu sat beside Bai Yu and said with a smile, why, Dad? Bai Yu was anxious when he heard it and hurriedly sat up and asked, haven't you noticed yet? Bai Yu asked back. What did I find? Bai Yu frowned and asked in confusion. Didn't you notice any changes when you were sparring or performing missions compared to just now? Bai Yu said indifferently. Dad, now that you mention it, I really think it's a bit. Bai Yu said while thinking. Tell me about it. Bai Yu said. When I was sparring with others before, I always wanted to win, desperate to win. When I was carrying out a mission, I wanted to kill all the enemies, leaving no one alive. But just now, I also wanted to win you at all costs at the beginning, but later, I don't know what happened. My mentality suddenly became much calmer. Bai Yu said seriously. That's it. Silly child, you don't know what hidden dangers you have. Using human spirits to kill enemies, killing too many, the murderer Sora cannot be channeled, and it will affect your mind. Bai Yu said with a smile. The excessive murderer Sora of human spirits has an impact on me? How is it possible? Bai Yu said in disbelief. How is it impossible? The human spirit and you have a contract. The contract is not only a restraining force, but also a connection at the spiritual level. The murderer Sora of the human spirit is too heavy, and it will affect you through this connection. Bai Yu touched Bai Yu's head and said, I see. What should I do, Dad? But when I just recalled the human spirit, I found that he was very normal, better than before. Bai Yu looked at Bai Yu and said thoughtfully, silly child. Didn't I store the human spirit in the Dharma Eye space before? Of course, I refined the murderer Sora on the body. Otherwise, how could it be good? Bai Yu said with a smile. How to refine it, Dad? Why don't you just teach me? Bai Yu said excitedly. You and your sister's yin and yang power have not been developed yet. How to mobilize it? To refine the murderer Sora, the yin and yang power must reach the state of harmony. Bai Yu said helplessly. Then what should I do, Dad? Otherwise, tell me how to make the yin and yang power reach the state of harmony. Bai Yu said anxiously. Isn't this mentioned in the skills I gave you? But you can't reach this state now. I'm thinking of another way. Bai Yu said with a smile. What way? Tell me. Bai Yu was relieved when he heard it, and then said with a smile. I know there is a way to purify your mind, and at the same time, to expel the murderer Sora from the body. But this method is very difficult to do. I'm thinking of a simple way. Bai Yu said while thinking. Bai Yu was a Taoist priest in his previous life, and he knew a lot of this and that curse. But in this Naruto world, the effect is minimal. Bai Yu was thinking, what if he combined the previous life's calming mantra and the purification mantra, and then applied the principle to the magic spell? It should work, but Bai Yu still needs time to organize, study, and then practice. Then Dad, you have to hurry up. I don't find someone to spar with today, and my hands are itching. Bai Yu said tentatively. Result. Bang. Bai Yu hit Beiki on the forehead. Smelly boy, it's been a long time since I hit you, and you're getting naughty. I just said that I won't let you spar, and I won't let you go on a mission. Do you want to try the pain from the soul? Bai Yu said unhappily. No. No. It hurts. Beiki covered his head with both hands and said aggrievedly. Smelly boy. Go to bed quickly. They are all asleep. Bai Yu said unhappily. I know. Beiki pouted, said something, and then rubbed his forehead and walked away. And Bai Yu, of course, climbed onto the big bed in a room in the Zaolan group base. The next day, everyone was busy with their own things. Originally, Bai Yu planned to go to the Mist Village today to bring back Meitarumi, but Beiki's matter forced him to stay in Konoha for a while longer. However, this also made the family, which had not been reunited for many years, full of happiness. The most obvious one was Bai Yu. Now her face was obviously smiling more and more. Needless to say, Tsunade and Orochimaru always had a moist pink on their fair cheeks every day. However, the ninjas of the dragon group were not happy. Bai Yu kindly took them back to the furnace. And those entertainment projects made them intoxicated. Every day, if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin, and then they would be cured by Bai Yu late at night, and continue the next day. This made the ninjas of the dragon group understand one thing. Sometimes, death is not terrible. What is terrible is that you can't die, and you will be resurrected with full blood the next day, and continue to die. However, under Bai Yu's success level devil training, not only Hyuga Atsukura, Nararaka, Yamanaka Hiji, Akimichi Ichito, Kuramaka Okumo, Inozuka River, Aburanchi, Uchiha Genji and others have been promoted step by step. Even Uchiha Shizu, Hatake Kakashi, Uchiha Obito, Tachibana Yukio, Might Guy, Sarutobi Asuma, Nohara and Yuhi Kurenoi have made a qualitative leap. In this training, Bai Yu was extremely cruel. Even Nohara, the hidden-tailed beast Jinkriki, was on the verge of death, not to mention others. The training is continuing, and the method of clearing the murderer Sora is also being studied. During this period, Bai Yu has not slept once. Even after doing something indescribable, Bai Yu has not rested. Either on the way to training, or on the way to research, never stopped. It is precisely because of this that in half a month, Bai Yu finally researched it out. Purification technique. This is a new secret technique that Bai Yu combines with the purification mantra, and the divine mantra. Based on the spiritual language, it drives the power of the spiritual world and uses the intonation when chanting to arrange the power of the spiritual world to achieve the effect of purifying oneself. This technique has extremely high requirements. Not only does it require the ability to speak spiritual language, but it also requires remembering every intonation when chanting. If you are tone deaf, then I'm sorry, you can't learn it, even if you die of exhaustion. It is precisely because of this that Bai Yu spent a month to teach Beiki. It's not that Beiki is tone deaf, but in terms of chanting, Beiki is like the embroidery needle of the fierce Zhangfei. Even Bai Yao, Bai Ying, and Bai Hao who were listening in can do it, but Beiki took a month to learn it. This made Bai Yu almost suffocate his chest with a mouthful of blood. Chapter 289. Bai Yu returns to the Mist Village. A month and a half later, Beiki was released from the ban. He could finally find someone to spar with and perform tasks again. But after each sparring and each task, he had to perform the secret technique of tranquility. After 3 months of infinitely terrifying devil training, the Dragon Group ninjas finally finished. On the day of the end, the entire Dragon Group was boiling. The deafening roar could even be heard by the people of Konoha village near the base, which shows how miserable it was. How sad and angry. Bai Yu happily spent a sleepless night with Tsunade and Orochimaru, and then set out on the road to bring back Meitarumi. I've waited for a long time, and finally today. Bai Yu rushed in the air, with a cheerful smile on his face, humming a well-known tune from his previous life. Bai Yu returned to the ground near the Mist Village, and walked in with big strides. The excitement of seeing his wife was surging, and when Bai Yu entered the village gate, he was stopped. Bai Yu was a little unhappy, but this was normal. This was his job and the safety of the village was important. Bai Yu wrote his name in the registration book unhappily. This mist ninja looked very young. When he saw Bai Yu's registration information, he screamed, "What's your name, Cialan?" An older mist ninja on the side said with some dissatisfaction, "Captain Lanje, look. This. Cialan pointed at the registration book, hesitating and stammering. The ninja named Lanje was stunned at first, and then fully demonstrated the feelings of an old-fashioned man. "You little brat, do you want to quit your job? Why are you so surprised? We are all family members, and you scared me. I'm telling you, remember what Bai Yu looks like. I'm telling you, that Bai Yu is the husband of Mizukichi. Don't be so rude next time." Lange's expression was extremely serious. If he hadn't looked a little lazy before, Bai Yu would have thought that he was a role model of the ninja world who was conscientious, honest, and hardworking, a standard elite Miss Ninja. However, Bai Yu was quite pleased with the title of Mizukichi's husband. "Sir Bai Yu, I'm sorry to make you laugh. Cialan is younger. You are here to see Mizukichi, right? Please come in," Lange said enthusiastically. "Thank you for your hard work," Bai Yu said with a smile, and then walked in with a cuckold step. Seeing Bai Yu's figure going away, Lange breathed a sigh of relief, gently wiped the sweat from his forehead, and whispered, "Fortunately, brother is smart, otherwise his lazy appearance would definitely be reported to the Mizukichi." "Captain Lange, what did you say? I didn't hear clearly," Cialan asked weakly on the side. "Nothing. Remember, our position as a gatekeeper not only requires the ability to detect danger, but also the ability to recognize people and be smart. Young man, work hard. I'm optimistic about you," Lange said in an unfathomable manner, and then still stood lazily aside. "Yes, senior. I will work hard," Cialan said excitedly. Bai Yu strolled around the mist village and found many problems. Although the village is more prosperous than before, in some streets and corners, Bai Yu clearly sensed a murderous aura and a vague hostility. Such a result made Bai Yu frown slightly. It seems that the mist village is not as peaceful as it seems. Moreover, Bai Yu clearly noticed that the ninjas he met while walking by all had serious faces, and a murderous aura was looming. It seems that something has happened in the mist village, Bai Yu thought secretly in his heart. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as Bai Yu was thinking, there was a sound of figures shuttling around. Bai Yu looked closely and saw that they were all mist ninjas. All were running in one direction. Something happened. Bai Yu's pupils shrank, and his figure disappeared immediately. He was the last to arrive, and appeared in front of Meditarumi, who had a serious face and a hint of gloom between her eyebrows, much earlier than the previous ninjas. Bai Yu's sudden appearance gave King and Chijiro a big shock. "Protect the Mizukichi," King shouted anxiously. A hint of murderous intent flashed in Chijiro's eyes, and he quickly drew out the double-bladed butterfly flounder from behind, and shot a chakra blade at Bai Yu. "Okay. Stop busying yourself. If I wanted to do something, I would have done it when you didn't know where I was. Why do I have to show up and do it later?" This voice sounds so familiar. How come this sounds so familiar? Everyone around, including Meditarumi, was stunned. Everyone looked closely. Bai Yu stroked the dragon sword with his left hand and held the butterfly flounder firmly in his right hand with purple gold magic power. Bai Yu, with a helpless look on his face, looked so cool. "Bai Yu! Lord Bai Yu!" King and Chijiro shouted at the same time. Meditarumi was stunned for a moment, and her originally gloomy face suddenly smiled like a flower, like ice, melted by the warm sunshine. Meditarumi murmured the name for Bai Yu happily. "Do you often appear and disappear like a ghost?" King wiped the sweat from his forehead and said unhappily. "King, watch your attitude, or you will die ugly." Meditarumi appeared behind King at some point, and the style of the painting suddenly changed. The surrounding background turned black. King was terrified, and Meditarumi behind him smiled strangely, with red eyes. "Medi, I miss you so much. Let me hug you." Bai Yu flicked his finger, and gently swung the butterfly flounder away. Then he stretched out his hands, ignored everyone's gaze, and slowly walked towards Meditarumi with a smile on his face. But at this time, Chijiro felt an unprecedented blow. "I obviously tried very hard. Why was it so easily bounced away by Lord Bai Yu? Am I really that weak?" Chijiro was autistic. "Ahem, you, there are things to do now. Don't make trouble," Meditarumi said with a blushing face. "Okay then. Then wait until the meeting is over. Bai Yu withdrew his hand disappointedly and then said with a smile, "Yeah." Meditarumi said with a blushing face. Bai Yu felt a growing sadness behind him. Looking back, then he saw Chijiro staring blankly at the butterfly, flounder in his hand, at a loss, with dull eyes. Bai Yu thought about it for a moment and immediately understood and smiled slightly. "I remember your name is Chijiro, right?" Bai Yu moved closer to Chijiro, put his hand on his shoulder, and said proudly, "Ah, yes, yes." Chijiro blushed and said, TSK, what a shy boy. Mimi, I'll take this kid away and teach him a few tricks so that his little heart won't be too fragile and he won't always worry about gains and losses." After Bai Yu finished speaking, he grabbed Chijiro and disappeared. This guy, no matter where he is, there will be chaos, Terumi Mei said, and then smiled slightly. The smile was full of happiness and tenderness. Chapter 290. There is an excellent work. Bai Yu brought Chijiro to the deserted lawn at the edge of the village. "Master Bai Yu, how could I leave the Mizukage? I'm her." Chijiro was stunned at first, thinking that Bai Yu's speed of taking him away was unprecedented. Chijiro reacted and hurriedly said to Bai Yu. But before he finished, Bai Yu waved his hand to interrupt him. "The Mizukage's bodyguard, right? Who do you think can hurt Mimui with me in the Mist Village?" Bai Yu's left hand naturally rested on the dragon sword at his waist and then said with a smile, "That's right. Master Bai Yu is very powerful." Chijiro said to Bai Yu in admiration. Everyone has the heart to admire the strong. In the past, Bai Yu was an enemy and Chijiro was afraid and cautious. Now that Bai Yu is his own, there is only admiration. "Come, tell me, what happened in the Mist Village?" Bai Yu said calmly, while sitting on the lawn. As the bodyguard of the Mizukage, how could he not know what happened in the village? Chijiro sat next to Bai Yu and thought for a while before saying, "These days, 3 ninjas have rebelled in the village. Biwa Juzo, Kuroki Reiga, and Hashigaki Kisame. They are all elite ninjas of the Mist Village, and 3 of them rebelled at once." This made Lord Mizukage very angry. Chijiro said with a serious look on his face, "I thought it was a big deal. It's just 3 rebels. What's the big deal?" Bai Yu said indifferently when he heard it. "Lord Bai Yu, this is not a small matter. For you, it's not a big problem. For the Mizukage, it's not a big problem either. But from the perspective of the Mist Village, it's a big problem. Every elite ninja is the backbone of the village. After the previous events, the strength of the Mist Village was greatly weakened, and there were not many pillars left. This rebellion is a serious blow to the Mist Village. The growth of an elite ninja is not easy. This is undoubtedly a double whammy for the Mist Village." Chijiro frowned and said in an orderly manner. Hearing this, Bai Yu narrowed his eyes. It seems that Mei has a good vision. Bai Yu thought to himself. In Bai Yu's opinion, Chijiro is a piece of uncut jade that has not yet been discovered, and it is priceless. Strength, wisdom, vision, and pattern can all be said to be excellent. Such a young child can actually say such a thing. It seems that Meditarumi asked Chijiro to be a bodyguard, but it is not just a simple bodyguard. It seems that Chijiro is very likely to become the 7th generation Mizukage. Bai Yu thought to himself. Why is it the 7th generation? Because the 6th generation, Bai Yu plans to let Bubble take the position. I can't tell, Chijiro, your analysis of the matter is correct. But, with me here, does all this matter? Besides, with the relationship between me and Mimi, if something happens in the Mist Village, how could I not take action? I'm not bragging, if I wasn't afraid that my actions would be too cruel, angering the heavens and people, and damaging the harmony of nature. I would have wiped out the land of earth, the land of wind, and the land of lightning long ago, and then there would be real world peace. Do you really want to do this? Forget it. Bai Yu said, and he extinguished the seed that had just risen in his heart. However, the piercing chill that was revealed at that moment was deeply felt by Chijiro. Hearing this, Chijiro couldn't help but feel cold on his back. Fortunately, this is not an enemy, but one of his own. Otherwise it would be too terrifying. No wonder Konoha has developed so well, and no one dares to deal with Konoha. With Bai Yu's existence, who in the entire ninja world dares to try? If it was the 3 villages dealing with Bai Yu alone, and Konoha didn't care, it would still be possible. But how could Konoha not take action? I'm afraid that before the 3 villages can deal with Bai Yu, Konoha will be wiped out by Bai Yu. But it feels really good to be protected by Bai Yu. After hearing what Bai Yu said, Chijiro's originally gloomy heart suddenly felt much more at ease. Yes, with Lord Bai Yu here, the Mist Village can rest assured. However, the Mist Village cannot let Lord Bai Yu worry about everything. The Mist Village must also develop independently, Chijiro said with a relieved smile. Bai Yu looked at Chijiro's shy smile and smiled. Okay, no more nonsense. Come, I'll teach you a few tricks. Use your strongest attack and let me see. Bai Yu said with a slightly serious expression. Yes, Lord Bai Yu. Chijiro also said seriously. Bai Yu nodded. Chijiro pulled out the flatfish behind him and injected chakra into it. After absorbing a large amount of chakra, the blade will become larger. Master Bai Yu. After absorbing chakra, the flatfish can launch chakra light blades, light cannons or light thorns for long range attacks. Be careful, Chijiro said seriously. Just attack with all your strength. Bai Yu nodded and said. Then a ball of purple gold mana condensed in his right hand and slowly condensed into the shape of a dragon sword. Flatfish liberation. Chijiro's face was serious, and chakra continued to be injected into the flatfish, and the flatfish began to emit blue light. When it reached a critical point, Chijiro shouted, "Swing at Bai Yu." While swinging, the flatfish's double swords condensed into a light cannon. With the swing, it blasted towards Bai Yu. Bai Yu could naturally see the power of this move, which was very good. But for Bai Yu now, it was still not enough. Bai Yu swung out a sword energy very coolly, integrating Chijiro's offensive. Bai Yu was very accurate in mastering mana. It just happened to completely offset this attack. The thunder was loud, but the rain was small. The vigorous and powerful offensive disappeared in the end. Chijiro was stunned. Then he admired him very much. He is worthy of being called the tailless tail beast Konoha Death God. When I was bored a few days ago, I read a very good novel The God of Konoha, and found that the protagonist in it was similar to Lord Bai Yu. They are both so powerful and so unsolvable. Lord Bai Yu. The next move is listed as a forbidden technique, because it is too cruel. I can't control it perfectly now, and even I can't control it well myself. Be careful, Chijiro said. It's okay. Come on. Let me see. Bai Yu said calmly. Flatfish blood mist sword technique bone pulling. With Chijiro's shout, Chijiro used the flatfish separated from the upper and lower parts to send out several light spikes. Bai Yu's pupils shrank. This move was really vicious. Every move was aimed at the joints. If someone was hit, all the joints in the body would be pierced, and he would be unable to move. He would only face piercing pain, which was unbearable. Bai Yu waved the dragon sword condensed with magic power in his hand, and blocked all the light spikes. Looking at Chijiro who was gasping for breath, while inserting the flounder into the ground, Bai Yu nodded. Don't think that Chijiro only attacked Bai Yu with 2 moves. But these 2 moves were completely the greatest power that Chijiro could condense. Especially the cruel forbidden technique. It can be seen that the chakra consumed is even greater. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 to Secret Techniques. Master Bai Yu, you are so strong, Chijiro said in admiration. No. Come, I will teach you 2 secret techniques. One can attack continuously. The other secret technique is completely comparable to the forbidden technique you just used. Bai Yu said proudly. Thank you, Master Bai Yu, Chijiro said excitedly. Anyone would be excited to learn a more powerful secret technique. And it was taught by someone as powerful as Bai Yu himself. The first secret technique is called Roar of the Waves. I just named it. It's pretty good, isn't it? Bai Yu said with a smile. When Chijiro heard the name, the corner of his mouth twitched, but in order to save Bai Yu's face, he could only smile bitterly and said it was very good. This secret technique is about using the opponent's force to counterattack. relying on your own chakra, evenly control the remaining power of your own force and the force of the enemy's attack. Then add the force and fight back. This not only saves energy and chakra, but also makes each move stronger than the last. It can be said that the more you fight, the stronger you become. Come closer to me, and I will tell you in detail how to use chakra. Bai Yu waved his hand and said to Chijiro, who was several steps away from him. Chijiro also walked over. The more Chijiro listened to Bai Yu's explanation, the more shocked he became. The more he listened, the more he felt that Bai Yu was really great. Such a powerful secret technique was passed on to him so easily. His gratitude to Bai Yu became deeper and deeper. Come and let me show you. Let me use your flatfish knife, Bai Yu said, after he finished explaining and confirmed that Chijiro understood. Chijiro handed the flatfish to Bai Yu without hesitation. This secret technique is also more suitable because of the characteristics of the flatfish. Well, use this. This is the sword my daughter used before. Attack me. Bai Yu took out the long sword that Bai Yu used before from the handbag that can store items. After Bai Yu finished condensing the dragon body, he gave the top level longsword and spear that he had made before to Bai Yu and Baiki. Bai Yu was too lazy to put the two children's previous use in the warehouse, so he threw them into his handbag. This, Lord Bai Yu, you are too extravagant. The materials in this sword are enough to make several ninja swords that can rival the flatfish. Chijiro looked at the long sword in his hand in surprise and disbelief. If Chijiro knew that the new ninja tool that Bai Yu gave to Baiki and Bai Yu was 10 times more precious than this long sword, Chijiro would definitely be so heartbroken that he would vomit blood. If you like it, I will get you a double-edged long sword that is better than this one when I return to the village, Bai Yu said heroically when he saw Chijiro's thrifty look. Forget it. I'm more used to using the flounder. Thank you for your kindness, Lord Bai Yu. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to, but Chijiro was more used to using the flounder double swords, so he had to bear the pain in his heart and refused. It's okay. How about I modify the flounder for you when I take Mimoi back to Konoha? Just modify the quality and leave the rest alone. Anyway, you have to escort Mimoi back to Konoha before you can return. After all, you are the god of the Mizukage, Bai Yu said proudly. Then I'll have to trouble Lord Bai Yu, Chijiro said excitedly in his heart. Okay. Come on, young man, Bai Yu said with a smile after getting familiar with the double sword's flounder. Be careful, Lord Bai Yu. Chijiro did not hesitate. He said a word and quickly rushed to Bai Yu, launching a series of attacks. The flounder in Bai Yu's hand glowed with a hint of purple gold brilliance, and with Chijiro's attack, the brilliance became brighter and brighter. From resisting Chijiro's attack at the beginning, to confronting, and then suppressing Chijiro. The more he attacked, the more fierce his attack became, and the more powerful his attack became, the more miserable Chijiro was. In fact, Bai Yu only used a little magic power. The battle didn't last long, until Bai Yu chopped Chijiro back with a knife, and it was over. Master Bai Yu, this secret technique is really powerful. What level of strength did you use just now? Chijiro asked with a smile. Probably, it's about the strength of a special chunin. It's about the same. Bai Yu thought for a while and said. So strong. You know, Chijiro is now close to the strength of a jonin. Soon he will be a jonin, Chijiro said in surprise. This is also because of my own strength. Otherwise, there would be no such good effect. This secret technique is that the stronger you are, the stronger the secret technique will be. Bai Yu said. Well, I'll teach you the next secret technique. Let's call it the fury of the waves. It sounds good, right? It's also a manifestation. Bai Yu frowned and thought for a long time, then said with a smile. Chijiro smiled awkwardly but politely, then nodded. This name is indeed better than the previous one. This secret technique is that when someone uses a greater force to shake you away with your previous secret technique, or when it reaches a point that you cannot bear, use chakra to accumulate power. Then when it reaches the critical point, use this power to attack the enemy. This move looks ordinary on the surface, but it is a precursor to the storm. This is called giving back in the same way. Come, let me tell you again. Bai Yu once again began to explain in detail to Chijiro. This technique is difficult, not as easy to master as before. So Bai Yu talked for a long time before Chijiro understood. Then Chijiro began to practice with the help of Bai Yu. These two secret techniques are the kind of secret techniques that are easy to get started, but difficult to master. In other words, anyone can learn them, but not everyone can perform them. Even if they can perform them, it is difficult to display the essence of these two secret techniques. If the essence cannot be displayed, it is not considered learned. These two secret techniques are considered growth secret techniques. After practicing for a long time, Chijiro was able to perform it. Come on, young man. Bai Yu waved the flounder in his hand and said with a smile. Chijiro was not polite and went straight up to attack. But Bai Yu just blocked it and saw that there was a sign of increasing decline. This sign is often regarded by others as being unable to resist and about to lose. But Chijiro had heard Bai Yu's explanation just now and knew that the highlight was about to come. Chijiro attacked for a long time, and Bai Yu raised his hand and made a stop gesture with a serious face. Chijiro stopped the attack immediately. Bai Yu raised the flounder in his hand, and it seemed that he was going to fight to the death for the last blow. Chijiro knew that this was the critical point. Of course, he could control this critical point, and it was within his tolerance. Bai Yu chopped a body position behind Chijiro with force. Chijiro looked back quickly. I saw that the flounder double swords, which were originally ordinary, suddenly burst into a purple gold light. Boom. With a loud noise, the ground began to crack from one body length behind Chijiro, and the distance was 10 body lengths. Chijiro's face turned pale with fear. It was just a moment of accumulation, and it was so terrifying. What if it could resist for 10 minutes? 20 minutes? What would happen then? Question mark? Chijiro was speechless for a long time after seeing this. The shock in his heart lasted for a long time. Chapter 292, Selection of the Mizukage. Thank you, Lord Bai Yu. Chijiro knelt heavily on the ground and bowed deeply. He said very solemnly, alright. It's nothing. Protect the mist village in the future. Bai Yu helped Chijiro up and said with a smile. Chijiro nodded seriously. I heard that the seafood in your mist village is excellent. Take me to taste it. Bai Yu hooked his shoulder and said with a smile. Chijiro suddenly felt that Bai Yu was really kind. Well, indeed. Speaking of seafood, although Konoha also has ports and places near the sea, but in terms of seafood cooking, I'm absolutely confident that the seafood in the mist village is the best in the entire ninja world. Chijiro said proudly to Bai Yu. No. Brother, you are one-sided. Bai Yu stretched out his free hand, shook it in front of Chijiro, and said meaningfully, isn't the seafood in the mist village the top in the ninja world? Chijiro said in surprise. My wife, Meditarumi, is the best at making seafood delicacies. Bai Yu said with great pride, and walked forward. For some reason, Chijiro felt like beating up Bai Yu. Chijiro felt that Bai Yu's face just now really deserved a beating. Let's go. Take me to taste seafood delicacies. Bai Yu shouted to Chijiro. Okay. Chijiro took a deep breath, then exhaled, calmed himself down, and then caught up with Bai Yu. Okay, as you said just now, search for the rebel ninjas within the scope of the water country. Be sure to bring them back. Also, the ninja sword must be recovered. Everyone, go about your own business. After a long time, the meeting finally ended. Meditarumi waved her hand with a serious expression. Yes. After everyone responded in unison, Meditarumi left the meeting room. When Meditarumi left the office building, she immediately sent someone out to find where Bai Yu and Chijiro had gone. They were all in the mist village, and soon Meditarumi knew where Bai Yu and Chijiro were. Meditarumi smiled happily and went to find Bai Yu. Now Bai Yu and Meditarumi were tacitly accepted by everyone. Although they didn't publicize it, there was no opposition. At this time, Bai Yu was feasting in a very famous seafood restaurant in Mist Village, holding a large piece of lobster meat in his left hand and a bottle of sake in his right hand. Chijiro was drinking juice opposite, because Chijiro was not yet of drinking age. Chijiro, who had lived in Mist Village since he was a child, had long been tired of seafood. Well, the seafood in Mist Village is really delicious. With this wine, it's amazing. It's a pity, Chijiro, you can't drink. Otherwise, you take a sip, and I will never tell anyone. Bai Yu said to Chojuro, the little Red Riding Hood, in a tempting voice like a big bad wolf. Master Bai Yu, I'm not old enough to drink. Chojuro refused awkwardly. It's really cool, just a few sips, it's okay. Don't worry, how can a man not drink? Bai Yu continued to seduce. You should know that all of Bai Yu's 9 disciples, except for Moonlight Gale, have drunk with Bai Yu. Of course, Hatake Kakashi drank very obscurely, and many people still don't know what the face behind the half mask looks like. It's really not possible, Lord Bai Yu. I'm really still young. Chojuro waved his hand eagerly and refused. Yo. The dignified Konoha death god is here, to trick a child into drinking. A lazy and sexy voice sounded behind Bai Yu. Without looking back, Bai Yu could naturally feel someone approaching, and Bai Yu could also determine who was coming. Bai Yu smiled slightly, put down the stake in his right hand, and 5 purple gold chakra threads flew out from his fingertips, entangled the person behind him, and pulled him into his arms. This person is naturally Terumi Mei, Mr. Mizukichi. Chojuro saw Terumi Mei, fluttered and stood up, bowed and said, relax, relax, how about it, what you taught you is okay. Terumi Mei said softly. In Terumi Mei's eyes, Chojuro is an extremely talented child. The secret technique that Lord Bai Yu taught me is very powerful. I'm very grateful to Lord Bai Yu. Chojuro said solemnly, his eyes full of gratitude. This is not fake. Don't be so fake. I'll drink this to show my gratitude. Bai Yu said proudly. Then he waved and handed Chojuro a full glass of wine. A hint of seriousness flashed in Chojuro's eyes. It was just wine, and he would drink it sooner or later. Then he drank the glass of wine in one gulp. However, Chojuro frowned and was a little confused. This nonsense. How could I persuade minors to drink? It's just a glass of water, haha. Bai Yu said with a smile. Chojuro smiled shyly and touched his head. Terumi Mei smiled gently at Bai Yu. Late at night, Bai Yu and Terumi Mei calmed their unstable breathing in the quilt. After a while, the two of them calmed down from the unspeakable emotions. I'm here this time to take you back to Konoha. Do you want to get married in the Mist Village or in Konoha? Bai Yu said softly. Mei Terumi did not speak. Now there are 3 rebellious ninjas in the Mist Village. The Mist Village was originally weak, and now there are more problems. Moreover, during the time when Bai Yu was away, Mei Terumi had not looked for someone suitable for the position of Mizukichi, but Mei Terumi did not find one. Hearing that Mei Terumi did not speak, Bai Yu smiled and continued. Chojuro is good, but he is too young now and needs experience. I do have a candidate for Mizukichi, the Six-Tails Jinchuriki Bubble. I met him during the previous Ninja World War, but I did not kill him because he is a peace-loving person. It can be seen that he is almost the best candidate at present, but that guy does not look as peaceful as he seems on the surface. In fact, he is also a person with a story in his heart. Bai Yu said. Yes, but it is too dangerous for the Jinchuriki to be the Mizukichi. If something like what happened before happens, the Mist Village will completely go downhill. Mei Terumi said worriedly. Don't forget, I'm a genius. Isn't it just to prevent the tailed beasts from being controlled by the Sharingan again? I made the 9 tails obedient, let alone the 6 tails. Bai Yu said with a smile. You are so awesome. What about the rebellious ninjas? There are still many things to do in the Mist Village. Mei Terumi first glanced at Bai Yu with her beautiful eyes, and then said dejectedly. I have already thought about it on the way here. Let Bubble inherit the Mizukichi, and I will send a few members of the Dragon Group to the safety of the Mist Village. As for other aspects, I have solved the most difficult problem of strength. If the village can't even solve other problems, then we can consider the issue of replacement. In any case, you must come back to Konoha with me this time. Bai Yu said domineeringly. Chapter 293 Confused Bubble. Okay. As long as you can let Peo become the Mizukichi, I will agree. I think the top leaders of the Mist Village will believe in your strength. But Peo is really lazy. He likes to sleep and is very leisurely. Seeing Bai Yu's confidence, Mei Terumi really couldn't bear to hit Bai Yu. TSK. First courtesy and then force. If soft doesn't work, use hard tactics. I don't believe that guy won't agree. Bai Yu said in his heart, but didn't say it out loud. Bai Yu turned around and continued the indescribable things. A young man with a mermaid line and a lazy face was lying on a tree with a bamboo tube on his belt. Peo suddenly felt a chill on his back and frowned. Is it because the weather is cold? Peo thought secretly in his heart. His Peo, why do I feel a little flustered? The six-tailed rhino said to Peo, I just felt a chill on my back. Is it starting to get colder? Peo responded. Impossible. The rhino said quickly. That's right. It's only a few months. Forget it. Go to sleep. Don't think about it. There's no use thinking too much. Bubble was very open-minded. After saying that, he changed his position and continued to sleep. The next morning, Bai Yu enjoyed a warm breakfast. Then he set out on the road to find Bubble. I should have brought Bakey with me earlier. Xianling's ability is just right. Bai Yu said to himself helplessly. Bai Yu originally thought that Meditarumi knew where Bubble was, but she didn't expect that she was not sure where it was. She had always used special methods to notify Jinkriki of battles or some things. It was a method similar to that of spy movies. But now is not wartime. It is impossible to summon Jinkriki easily. Hey, if you don't bring Bakey, you can bring Ninetails. This guy is also very sensitive to the perception of the tailed beasts. Three tails. Forget it, let's look for it. Bai Yu flew in circles around the mist village in the air. During the flight, he kept mumbling. In the end, what he said to himself was very annoying. Until dusk, for a small day, Bai Yu did nothing else but carpet search for Bubble. God will not let down those who work hard. Finally, Bai Yu met Bubble in an uninhabited dense forest. Bubble. Bai Yu yelled and then rushed over. What is this? Exclamation mark. Huh? Exclamation mark. Bai Yu. Exclamation mark. What? Question mark? Bubble was confused. Why is he here? Isn't he an elder of Konoha? Did the mist village fall? How is this possible? Exclamation mark. Bai Yu, why are you here? Did you kill Goji Yagura? How could you invade the mist village? I misjudged you. Bubble looked at Bai Yu with resentment and said, what? Bai Yu was a little confused. Did this big brother's memory still exist so many years ago? Or has he been in seclusion? However, Bai Yu narrowed his eyes in an instant, and a plan was generated in his mind. Yes, you misread me. Why? Now that Konoha is attacking the land of water, the mist village has been expelled. Poor Yagura Goji, before he died, he told other mist ninjas that he would pass the position of Mizukage to you in the future. Haha, what a joke. I'm here to take your life today. Let you disappear in the bud before you inherit the Mizukage. Bai Yu laughed wildly, and then he was murderous, acting like a real person. What? How is it possible? Yagura Goji can't pass the position of Mizukage to me. What about Meditarumi? What happened to Meditarumi? Bubble said excitedly. What the hell? Exclamation mark. Could it be that this guy has ideas about Meditarumi? Bai Yu was shocked. I didn't expect there would be an unexpected gain. Should I kill him and replace him with someone else to be the Mizukage? Just when Bai Yu was feeling jealous, Bubble started shouting again. Meditarumi is the most suitable person for the Mizukage. Although I'm not familiar with her, I still know something about her. Tell me quickly, what did you do to her? Bubble said even more excitedly. It seems that Bubble doesn't want to be as lazy as he appears to be. Look, when he heard that his family was gone, he was anxious. Moreover, after Bai Yu heard what Bubble said, his jealousy disappeared. Bubble didn't know that he had saved himself from a disaster invisibly. Is it the girl with brown hair, blue eyes, blue skirt, great figure and beautiful appearance? Sorry, I couldn't control myself for a moment and gave her to, a man. You should understand me. She is so beautiful. Bai Yu said shyly, touching his head. Bai Yu's words left a lot of room for imagination. Bubble's mind exploded when he heard Bai Yu's words. Now, he believed what Bai Yu said just now. If it weren't for Bai Yu's actions, Meditarumi would not commit suicide, so Gotochibana Yagura would let him serve as the Mizukage. Anger, sadness, and sorrow filled Bubble's heart. Rhino felt Bubble's emotions and said, Bubble, I fully support you. Understood. The one-tailed beast said to each other in their hearts. Bai Yu, Thank you for letting me know that Goji Yagura passed the position of Mizukage to me. From now on, I'm the Mizukage, and you are my token of loyalty to become the Mizukage. Bai Yu, I will kill you. The bubbles ran wild in an instant. Tailed beast mode was completed instantly. Bai Yu, why did you do this? Rhino said to Bai Yu angrily. Finally out. Come on, solve it early and end it early. Bai Yu said with a smile. Damn it! Exclamation mark. In this case, don't blame me for being rude. After the rhino said angrily, he was about to attack. Bai Yu's figure gradually disappeared, and the next second he appeared on the top of the rhino's head, so fast that the rhino couldn't react. Bai Yu muttered a spiritual language, and a divine spell of the same type as the nine-tailed fox appeared in the rhino's mind. The nine-tailed fox was exempted from the possibility of being controlled and summoned again, because of the mark left by this special divine spell. This is done. Bai Yu clapped his hands happily. Swoosh. At this moment, a tail of the rhino swept towards Bai Yu with a sound of breaking through the air. Boom. A purple gold light was rolling on Bai Yu's body, but this time, the golden light was brighter. Bai Yu relied on the power of the Dragon Clan, and caught the attack of the rhino dog with one hand. For a moment, Bai Yu also became interested. He has always been a major Taoist priest, and has never been a warrior. Today, he will use the power of the Dragon Clan to have a taste of it. Haha. Come on, Kang Muang. Bai Yu flew directly into the air, fighting head on with the rhino dog. The rhino dog spit out a tailed beast ball, and Bai Yu blew it up with the power of the dragon. The residual power of the power explosion made Bai Yu's clothes tattered, but his body was rolling with a layer of golden light, and nothing happened. This is the power of the dragon body. No matter how the rhino dog attacked, Bai Yu was like a crazy warrior, fighting against the rhino dog with bare hands. In the end, Bai Yu completely let go, and the rhino dog felt a little pain. But the rhino dog did not give up. If it was before, the rhino dog would choose to surrender if he couldn't beat it. But he and Peo Peo now think that Bai Yu has destroyed the Water Kingdom. So I will fight Bai Yu to the end, even if I have to die. Chapter 294 Dealing with the Bubble. That's enough. I've had enough. You can stop now. Bai Yu punched the rhino dog and burst all the bubbles it had spit out. A wave of heat spread out in all directions. Bai Yu moved his neck and wrists, waved his hands and said, "Impossible, how could it stop? Don't dream." The rhino dog roared. "I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Let the bubbles out. I have something to say to him." Bai Yu frowned and said coldly. The undisguised and powerful aura made the rhino dog feel the fear from the soul, because Bai Yu's aura was mixed with dragon power. Dragons are the top beasts in the world. Except for beasts of the same level, other creatures will be in awe of dragons. Above the rhino dog's head, bubbles slowly appeared, just like floating up from the water. "Bai Yu, what else do you have to say? I can't stand with you." Bubble shouted coldly, holding a bamboo tube. "You mean you agree to be the Mizukage, right?" Bai Yu asked. "Nonsense. Although there are too many things that are not satisfactory as a Jinkriki, the Mist Village is still my hometown." Bubble said angrily. "That's it. Remember to go back to the village to find Mimui tomorrow. I'll wait for you in the village." Bai Yu said and flew away. "Damn it. Don't go. You still want to compare me? Huh. Go back to the village to find Mimui. Wait for me in the village?" Bubble, who was originally extremely angry and wanted to crush Bai Yu to ashes, was confused again when he heard Bai Yu's words. "Rhino, what does he mean by this?" Bubble looked down at the rhino and asked in confusion. There should be no problem with the Mist Village. From his appearance, he should be confirming something. And you accidentally revealed something, so he left after confirming it. Rhino also thought for a while and said in a deep voice, "Who cares? Let's go and see tomorrow. I haven't seen Firefly for many years. I don't know how tall she is now." Bubble said, and a different color flashed in his eyes. The Firefly in Bubble's mouth is his apprentice, Eyeing. The relationship between the two is very complicated, and the degree of complexity is comparable to that between Bai Yu and Tsunade. The difference is that Bubble is a teacher. That little girl, when you left, she was already very pretty. After not seeing her for a few years, she should be even more beautiful. Rhino Dog also said with a smile. "Yes. A trace of nostalgia flashed in Bubbles' eyes, and then a different kind of pain appeared in her eyes, and then was hidden. Rhino Dog was very tactful, and didn't say anything, but put Bubble on the ground, and returned to his body. Bubble, who returned to the ground, also woke up, and walked towards the mist village. Back. How is it? Did you find Bubble? When Meditarumi returned home, and saw Bai Yu drinking tea, she hurried over, and asked with concern like a bird returning to its nest. Found him, fight with him, and come to me tomorrow. Bai Yu said with a smile. Why are you fighting again? What's going on? Meditarumi was stunned for a moment. She expected Bubble to be unwilling to be the Mizukage, but she didn't expect that they could fight. Bai Yu had no choice but to tell Meditarumi about the process. Haha. You. But I was really surprised. I didn't expect Bubble to be able to behave like this. Meditarumi smiled at first, but she was really surprised by Bubble's reaction. I can't do that either. I don't know what order Yagiragoji gave Bubble. TSK. Bai Yu smacked his lips and said. Meditarumi didn't know either. After being intimate with Bai Yu for a while, he went to prepare dinner for Bai Yu. The next day, Bai Yu didn't go out to jump around, but followed Meditarumi to the Mizukage's office. Sure enough, before Bai Yu could warm up the stool, Bubble arrived. It can be seen that Bubble has long been numb from the state of shock, which can be seen from his facial expression. Bubble saw Meditarumi and nodded, and Meditarumi responded. It was considered a greeting. After all, the identity of the Jinkriki was somewhat special. Bai Yu, what do you want? Why did you lie to me yesterday? Bubble saw Bai Yu and didn't say anything else. He spoke directly to the point with a lukewarm attitude. If you become the Mizukage, Meditarumi will come back to Konoha with me. Bai Yu did not indulge Bubble's bad habits and said in a cold voice. Why? Bubble also said in a cold voice. Because I'm Meditarumi's fiancé. I want to marry her. Bai Yu said. Huh? What's going on? Bubble was confused. Meditarumi is in love? Meditarumi blushed and explained it to Bubble. Bubble understood. This time when he returned to the village, the changes in the village really shocked him. It was obviously much more prosperous than before, and the village no longer had the murderous atmosphere of the past, but was replaced by a peaceful atmosphere. Why do you want me to be the Mizukage? Bubble asked. Now in the Mist Village, besides Meditarumi, you are the most suitable, and Chijiro is still too young. Bai Yu said. What will happen if I don't become the Mizukage? Bubble's eyes flashed with a trace of entanglement. He really didn't want to be so busy every day. How good it would be to live a leisurely life. Kill you, then heal you, and then kill you again. Until you agree. Bai Yu said with narrowed eyes. The atmosphere froze instantly, and even Meditarumi's heart almost stopped beating. The momentum released by Bai Yu in an instant was really terrifying. HMPH, I don't agree. Sure. As soon as Bubble finished speaking, Bai Yu swung a sword with his left hand, cut off Bubble's head. Then in an instant, he restored Bubble and sent his soul back into his body. Then he drank tea calmly. Meditarumi was stunned. Who? After a while, Bubble's face turned pale, and he was panting. You. Bubble pointed at Bai Yu, and was unable to speak. How does this death experience feel? Do you want to experience it again? Do you want to be a Mizukage? Bai Yu smiled at Bubble. I don't. Sure. Puff. Who do you want to be a Mizukage? I. Sure. Puff. Wait a minute. You haven't asked me why you want to kill me. Bubble woke up and asked hurriedly. Sorry, I just killed him easily. Bai Yu said awkwardly, and then touched his head embarrassedly. Then do you agree? Bai Yu said, and was about to wave his hands subconsciously. I agree. Pao's pupils shrank, and he said quickly. That feeling of death is really terrifying. The most terrifying thing is to die and come back to life, and then feel the near death. It's simply a torture. Pao really doesn't want to feel it anymore. This is the real life of being unable to live or die. Okay. Memeing, I'm going home, you hurry up, and complete the handover. Love you. Bai Yu kissed Terumi Mei's forehead, then said softly, and walked away. Terumi Mei was left with a blushing face, and Pao felt sour in her heart. Chapter 295 Bubbles and Fireflies. The work of the Mizukage is very complicated. Meditarumi first convened the senior management of the Mist Ninja again, and held a meeting, which was the meeting for the appointment of the Mizukage. Later, after Meditarumi repeatedly assured that the Six-Tails Jinchuriki could no longer be controlled, the senior management agreed to let Bubble succeed. After all, the fourth Mizukage is a good example. Then Meditarumi took Bubble to the Daimyo mansion of the Land of Water, went to the Daimyo, and told him that the Mizukage had changed. Of course, polite words are indispensable. Then Meditarumi and Bubble, as well as the Mist Ninja who were traveling with them, returned to the Mist Ninja village. The handover work began. This handover took 3 months. Although there was a factor that Bubble was not familiar with the affairs of the Mist Ninja village for many years, the most common reason was that the work of the Mizukage was indeed too much. Moreover, during this period, Bai Yu also helped Bubble do a big thing. Now Bubble's attitude towards Bai Yu has changed a lot. Although he still looks leisurely and calm, in Bubble's heart, he regards Bai Yu as a real friend. On the first day of Meditarumi's abdication, Bai Yu and Meditarumi were basking in the sun in the yard comfortably. Bai Yu looked at the sun and couldn't help but recall the scene a month ago. It was also a sunny day. Bai Yu was bored and strolled on the streets of Mist Ninja. However, Bai Yu was not interested in anything else except seafood. The seafood dishes made by Meditarumi were much more delicious than those outside. So he went to stroll outside the village to see if there were any beautiful scenery around the Mist Ninja village. But just when Bai Yu was wandering around bored, he heard a fierce conversation in the distance. The following paragraph is definitely not the original work. Don't blame me. Mustard also wants to write more about the original work, but the timeline. When Bai Yu entered Konoha, the butterfly effect had already occurred. It's even more biased at this critical juncture, so don't criticize me, or I'll cry for you. Teacher. Although I call you teacher, don't you understand my feelings for you? A crisp girl, her tone was very excited. Bai Yu curiously sensed it, and found that there was a growing sadness. I understand, I could have been lucky, but now I promised Meditarumi and Bai Yu to become the Mizukage. So, why is this voice so familiar? Bai Yu heard it, and quickly restrained his breath and approached quietly. He saw a young and sexy girl. This girl had long curly yellow-brown hair and a pair of blue eyes. She was very beautiful. At this time, her eyes were full of mist, and tears appeared on her cheeks. I didn't expect that Bubble had such deeds. Bah, scumbag. Even his own apprentice. When Bai Yu thought about it to the end, he suddenly felt that it was somewhat similar to himself. He stopped talking and continued to watch the excitement. I have been discriminated against by many people since I was a child because of the forbidden techniques in my body. Only you are good to me. But just because we are master and apprentice, you don't recognize the relationship between us? Aang said, crying. After she finished speaking, the traces of tears became more obvious. I have never heard that between a master and an apprentice. So, I don't want you to spend the rest of your life in the gossip of others. Pao's voice was very gentle, unprecedentedly gentle, at least Bai Yu had never heard of it. Do you care about what others say? Teacher, is it really because of this that you can't face our relationship? Aang said, crying. Of course I don't care about anything. I just don't want you to be talked about by others. The old ninjas of the Mist Village are almost dead, but many people know that you are my apprentice. Pao said without thinking. I don't care. I don't care. As long as I can be with you, teacher, I don't care about anything. This time I won't leave you. After so many years, I really miss you. Teacher Pao. Aang threw herself into Pao's arms excitedly and cried bitterly. But, Pao was about to say something to reject Aang. But Bai Yu, who was full of pride, naturally couldn't sit still. What's going on? This girl said this, and Pao was still tangled. He was really not a man. Ahem. Bai Yu also knew that it was not good to eavesdrop, so he pretended to cough twice. Pao's gentle smile disappeared instantly, replaced with a calm face. And Aang also left Pao's arms quickly, and then wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, but there was still an indelible sadness in her eyes. Oh. What a coincidence. What are you doing? Are you two on a date? Bai Yu deliberately said jokingly. As soon as Bai Yu said this, Aang's face suddenly flushed. and Peo had an unnatural smile on his face. "What's the matter with you, Bai Yu?" Peo asked calmly. It was already good enough that Peo didn't hate the man who killed him and then saved him. As for his smile, he couldn't do anything about it. TSK, don't be so cold. After all, I'm the man who helped you become the Mizukage. Bai Yu was a man with a smile on his face. When Aang heard that it was Bai Yu who made Peo become the Hokage, the good impression in her eyes disappeared immediately, replaced by a sense of resentment. If Peo hadn't become the Mizukage, she could still have a glimmer of hope, but now, after Bai Yu felt Aang's emotions, he sighed in his heart, as expected. "This kind of roundabout thing is not suitable for me. It's more comfortable to be straightforward. Okay, let's show our cards. I heard your conversation just now. This beautiful girl is your apprentice. Your apprentice likes you, and you can't face this relationship because of your identity, right?" Bai Yu said directly. Aang's face was pale. Hiding for so long, she was discovered. Bubble's face also looked a little unnatural, but Bubble didn't say anything, but looked at Bai Yu coldly, wanting to know what Bai Yu wanted to do. Bai Yu's eyes flashed. Bubble's eyes suddenly became empty. Bai Yu walked to Bubble and pushed him gently. Plop. Bubble leaned back and lay flat on the ground, but his eyes were still empty. "What did you do to my teacher?" When Aang saw this situation, she was anxious. She rushed over. Stop. Little girl, I can't stand it anymore, so I helped you. My name is Bai Yu, and you are not like this guy who has been in seclusion for so long. You can definitely survive with my name." Bai Yu waved his hand and said helplessly, "Master Bai Yu, are you the husband of Master Mizukage? Sorry, I'm disrespectful." Aang was stunned at first, then said in shock, and then immediately apologized respectfully. "Well, strictly speaking, I'm Meditaruma's husband. Well, the relationship between Tsunade and I is also that of master and apprentice. I'm the apprentice, and she is the teacher, but now she is my wife. In the entire ninja world, no one knows you better than me." Bubble is under the illusion that I researched myself. When he wakes up, he will be able to face the relationship between you two. Bai Yu said with a smile. Aang was immediately excited when she heard this. She hurriedly thanked Bai Yu. After Bubble was under Bai Yu's illusion, Bai Yu started chatting with Aang. The more they talked, the more distressed he felt for Aang, a beautiful girl, because she had suffered so much in the past. Chapter 296 Illusion World. In the illusion world. In that case, just give me a bargain. I'll take your apprentice as my concubine, and I'll make it a done deal. Bai Yu, in the illusion world, had a playful smile on his face, ignored Bubble, and walked towards Aang. Aang looked at Bai Yu tremblingly, with a look of fear. The panicked and tearful look on his face made Bubble feel pain in his heart. "What are you talking about? Bai Yu, I didn't expect you to be such a person. If you dare to touch Aang, I'll fight you. Even if I die, I'll make you uncomfortable." Bubble stood in front of Aang, using his body to block Aang, and looked at Bai Yu with an angry face. "Look, let me analyze it for you. You know that Aang, this little girl, likes you. Don't do useless things, answer me." Bai Yu stopped, and said to Bubble with a smile. Seeing Bubble's unnatural face, he immediately said the second half of the sentence in a bad mood. "I know what you are going to do," Bubble said with a flash of determination in his eyes. "It can be seen that you should also like this girl, right?" Bai Yu asked. "What exactly are you going to do?" Peo didn't say it clearly, but the worry and concern in his eyes couldn't be faked. "What am I going to do? This girl is your apprentice. You can't face this relationship because of your status. That's easy. Just be my concubine. It will save you trouble. She can have a good home. Leave this kind of thing of helping others to achieve their goals to me. Get out of the way quickly. Let us improve our relationship and bring them back to Konoha in 2 days." Bai Yu said with a smile. "Impossible. I will never allow it." Peo felt uncomfortable when he heard it. He said very firmly, I'm helping you. How can you not be grateful? I'll help you solve the problem, and you can be your Mizukage with peace of mind, and you will never have to worry about it again." "Why not?" Bai Yu said helplessly. "I'm telling you, get up quickly. Don't blame me for killing you." Bai Yu's face suddenly turned into a villain's look. He said unhappily. After Bai Yu finished speaking, he walked forward. Bai Yu, if you dare to hurt Aang, although I'm not as strong as you, I will fight you. If you want to hurt Aang, you have to step over my body first. What Bai Yu didn't expect was that at this time, Bubble actually had a determination to die. For a guy like Bubble, Bai Yu felt that it was useless to beat around the bush, so it was better to be direct. Bai Yu was still very good at direct methods. Bai Yu still walked forward. Ignoring Bubble, he walked over, grabbed the weak Aang, showed a wicked smile on his face, and walked towards the woods next to him. Put Aang down. Bubble took a deep breath, then stared at Bai Yu, and shouted in a deep voice. Bai Yu looked at Bubble with disdain and continued walking. A tail slowly stretched out from behind Bubble, which was the tail of the six-tailed rhino. At this time, Bubble was borrowing the chakra of the six-tailed rhino. Water escape bubble technique. Bubble pulled out a bamboo tube and blew a series of bubbles around Bai Yu. Bai Yu frowned and cursed. Trouble. Then he swung out a dazzling purple gold sword energy with his left hand, breaking all the bubbles. Bang bang. Bang, a series of explosions caused a cloud of dust to rise around. Seeing this, Bubble hurriedly turned into a half-tailed beast. The red-tailed beast coat made Yu-Gi-Oh's strength significantly increased by several levels. He rushed towards Bai Yu. Bai Yu looked at Bubble with disdain, grabbed Aang with his left hand, soared into the air, and volleyed. He kicked Bubble to the ground, and the tailed beast coat retreated immediately. With just this kick, Bubble suffered serious internal injuries. Bubble only felt that he had lost consciousness all over his body. The internal organs in his body were churning. The pain made Bubble only watch Bai Yu walk towards the woods with bloodshot eyes. Bai Yu, don't hurt Aang. Bubble's eyes were bloodshot, and he shouted hoarsely at Bai Yu's back. You said you won't hurt her, then don't hurt her? Besides, I didn't hurt her. It's just a ceremony for husband and wife. I will take her back to Konoha. Don't worry, I will take good care of her for the rest of my life. Bai Yu turned his back to Bubble, with a triumphant smile on his face, but his tone was full of perfunctory and impatient tone. Bai Yu, I'll fight you. As an adult, Bubble could naturally hear the indescribable mentality in Bai Yu's tone at this time. Ignoring the internal injuries of his body, he forced himself into the tailed beast. Strong acid gas. Bubble, who had entered the complete tailed beast, should not be said to be a rhino dog that came out to fight. A stream of white gas was ejected from the holes on his face, and all the trees he encountered were directly vaporized wherever he passed. I wanted to be more obscure, but I didn't expect you to want to watch the live broadcast. In this case, I will satisfy you. Bai Yu smiled evilly, and then said helplessly, lie down. Bai Yu grabbed Aang with his left hand, and roared ferociously on his face. He flew into the air, and stepped towards the rhino dog from the air. When Bai Yu stepped on the rhino dog's head, the ground suddenly cracked in all directions. Bang! The rhino dog fell to the ground, and was directly beaten back into Bubble's body by Bai Yu. Blood oozed from Bubble's head, and he lay there powerlessly, unable to move. Because of that heavy step just now, Bubble's bones were broken. Now he is breathing less and breathing more. Don't hurt Aang. Bubble shouted weakly. His eyes were bloodshot, and he stared at Bai Yu tightly. Bai Yu raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and glanced at Aang in his arms. This was not real, but was fabricated by Bai Yu. I have to say that the fabricated Aang has really good acting skills. His eyes were empty, just staring at Bubble, as if asking, why don't you stay with me? No matter what Bai Yu did to Aang next, Aang just stared at Bubble blankly. Looking at Aang's eyes, Bubble felt that he was about to suffocate. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. Yes, he obviously liked Aang and loved her. Why couldn't he get over that hurdle? Exclamation mark. 2 pieces of clothing have been taken off. Peo closed her eyes, tears slowly flowing down. I told you not to watch it just now, but you insisted on watching the live broadcast. Now I'll let you watch it, but you close your eyes. No, you have to watch it for me. Bai Yu put Aang's clothes back on, and then found 2 small branches. He propped up Peo's eyes, which could not move. He posed very considerately, so that Peo could fully appreciate it. Just now, you didn't watch it. I'll start over, and you have to watch it carefully this time. Bai Yu said wickedly. He started the action, and the speed of the action was very slow, but every minute and every second was a torment for Peo. Why? Exclamation mark. Why didn't I accept Aang's love before? If I were with Aang, I wouldn't feel so guilty and uncomfortable like I do now. Peo looked into Aang's eyes. There was no resentment in those eyes, no hatred for Bai Yu, but only questioning. Why don't you be with me? You obviously love me too. Exclamation mark. Chapter 297. Yu Ming's love finally comes to an end. I love you, Aang. I want to be with you. Screw the master-disciple relationship. Screw the Mizukage identity. Even if the world doesn't tolerate us, I want to be with you. Seeing Aang about to be killed, Bubble couldn't help it and shouted excitedly. The moment Bubble finished shouting, the illusion world disappeared, and Bubble was stunned. In the real world, Bai Yu and Aang, who were chatting happily on the side, were also stunned. Bubble was stunned because the illusion world disappeared. Bai Yu and Aang were stunned because of Bubble's shouting just now. After a while, Aang rushed to Bubble with an excited face. Teacher, was what you just shouted real? Aang threw herself into the arms of Bubble, who was lying flat on the ground, and asked excitedly. Bubble was awakened by Aang's voice. Looking around, and then looking at Bai Yu, who was peeking and touching his nose, he immediately understood what was going on. It turned out that it was Bai Yu's illusion just now. Bubble looked at Bai Yu with a complicated expression. What the hell is this? Exclamation mark. What's the way to think of it? So hateful. Although Bubble knew that Bai Yu had just helped him to face his inner self, he still had the urge to beat him up. It's true. Bubble gently held Aang's back and said softly. Bai Yu smiled when he heard Bubble's answer, gave Bubble a thumbs up, and quietly left. Bubble saw Bai Yu giving him a thumbs up, and also gave him a thumbs up. He smiled gratefully. Teacher, we can be together. Bai Yu has helped a lot. Bai Yu. Hey, where is he? Aang felt Bubble's embrace, then said with a smile, looking around to see where Bai Yu was. Exclamation mark. No need to look for him, he just left. But I do have to thank him. Bubble said softly. Teacher, you don't know, Bai Yu is the same as us. He and Tsunade were originally master and apprentice. Because the stone in her heart was put down and there was a result, Aang regained her happiness as before. Chirping and telling Bubble the story that Bai Yu had just told her about him and Tsunade. Bubble was very patient and listened to Aang's words carefully. It turned out that Bai Yu was the same as herself. This bastard, just say it directly. There is a precedent, and it is very successful. Why should I bother about it? Why do I have to do this to myself? If Bai Yu knew what Bubble was thinking at this time, he would definitely suck the Vulpix to the brink of death, then raise it, and suck it again. After Bai Yu recalled helping Bubble to solve the problem of Firefly, he suddenly found that he was a bit like the matchmaker in the ninja world. What are you thinking about? Meditarumi looked at Bai Yu and asked with a smile. I'm thinking about the things I helped Bubble with before. Bai Yu responded. This matter. But I really have to thank you. You don't know that, since Bubble and Firefly walked hand in hand on the street, there are many people in the same situation, and they are all happily together. Meditarumi said with a smile. That was because the third generation listed all the articles I wrote about lovers banned books. Otherwise, would I have to do it myself? It's really laborious. But this guy Bubble should be able to be a water shadow with peace of mind. Bai Yu said leisurely. How come I didn't know you wrote such an article? Meditarumi asked in confusion. Bai Yu had no choice but to tell her about his glorious deeds in the past. After listening, Meditarumi couldn't help but sigh and said, so, you and Tsunade have such an experience. Well, let's not talk about this. Do you plan to marry me in Konoha or in the Mist Village? Bai Yu turned his head to Meditarumi and asked. Meditarumi didn't speak, but thought quietly for a while, and then said, in the Mist Village. After the wedding, I will go back to Konoha with you directly. In Konoha, just invite your relatives and friends in Konoha, and have a simple meal. Meditarumi said with a smile. In fact, Meditarumi thought that after all, she was Bai Yu's third wife, so there was no need to make such a big fuss in Konoha. Now she was no longer the Mizukage in the Mist Village. There was no shackles of identity, and there was no need to make such a big fuss. It was just a ceremony to satisfy her vanity. What are you talking about? The Mist Village will hold it once. Konoha will hold it again. It's settled. What a joke. I, Bai Yu, am getting married, and it's like an underground love affair. Needless to say, it's settled. As for the Mist Village, let Bubble and Hotaru arrange it. When we return to Konoha, I'll let these guys make a big one together. Bai Yu said domineeringly. Forget it. Bubble has just become the Mizukage, and has a lot of things to do. Don't let our affairs delay your work. Although Meditarumi was very happy, she was considerate and thought it would be better not to affect the Mizukage's work. What's the matter? I'm here to take care of the safety. The Bai group is here to take care of the economy, and Konoha is here to take care of the strength of the Mist Village. What else is there? Needless to say, I'll go talk to Bubble right away. Bai Yu waved his hand, said something arrogantly, and then walked away with a cuckold step. Terumi Medi was left with a happy face. Half a month later, the Mist Village ushered in a grand wedding banquet. The whole village was invited. It is estimated that in the entire ninja world, only Bai Yu is a landlord who can squander like this. 3 days later, Bai Yu took Meditarumi, Chijiro, King, and some ninjas who escorted Meditarumi, and embarked on the journey back to Konoha. Back in Konoha, Tsunade and Makoto accepted Meditarumi, while Baiki, Baiyao, Baiing, and Baihao obediently called Meditarumi Mom Medi, and Baking Chin called sister-in-law, and returned to the world of the game. This made Meditarumi think that Baking Cheng did not welcome her, but after Tsunade and Makoto explained, they realized that Baking Cheng was just like that, addicted to the internet. But what made Meditarumi happy was that Tsunade and Makoto were still quite welcoming to her. So, that night, Bai Yu was kicked out of the house and slept at the Dragon Group base for a night. In the name of the beautiful reason, Bai Yu could not go home before Konoha held the wedding. That night, after dinner, Bai Yu, wearing pajamas, came to the Dragon Group under everyone's kind ridicule. The next day, Minato, Namikaze, Shikaku Nara and others who were friends with Bai Yu came to the Dragon Group to ridicule Bai Yu. Fortunately, nothing happened. In 3 days, with everyone's help, Bai Yu and Meditarumi held a more grand wedding in Konoha. Bai Yu returned to the warm bed with a happy face. Every day was an indescribable happy life. However, Bai Yu did not indulge in the gentle country for too long, because the Dragon Group had just returned to the furnace not long ago, and they could not be too relaxed. Otherwise, they would maintain good vigilance, and it was very likely that they would disappear because of relaxation. Otherwise they would have to go back to the furnace. Moreover, Bai Yu decided that the Dragon Group would start selecting a group of outstanding talents soon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 When Tachibana Yukayo meets Meisha Inu. A week later, Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Izumi, Baiki, Baiyao, and other outstanding ninjas were shortlisted for the Dragon Team selection. Moreover, Bai Yu's apprentice, Moonlight Gale, was also on the list, and with him was Yuzuki Yugeo. However, when an unknown girl appeared, Bai Yu knew that the Dragon Team was about to blow a sweet wind again. This girl came to Konoha alone. After being investigated by Minato, Namikaze and Hirozen Sarutobi, she was included in the Konoha ninja roster and became a Konoha ninja. This girl is very beautiful, with a pair of eyebrows and silky tenderness. Although her clothes are slightly tasteful, they are still very conservative. However, when Bai Yu knew the name of this girl, he was always willing to think of a character with the same name as her in his previous life, Meisha Inu. The same red dress, the same willingness to use a fan, and the same fire attribute. Bai Yu also asked Meisha Inu if she knew Kyoku Sanaji and Yagami, but Meisha Inu was confused and said she didn't know. Bai Yu gave up. However, seeing Yukio Tachibana looking at Meishiranu, as if he was electrocuted, trembling all over, with an expression like a mouse seeing a cat, the gossip fire in everyone's heart was spontaneously born, but Bai Yu couldn't do this. Although he wanted to know, Bai Yu was the captain after all. He still had to have the necessary airs. So, Bai Yu had to hide in the dark and eavesdrop quietly. Since the newly selected team members need to be tempered for 3 months, Yukio Tachibana was very glad that it would take some time for him to meet Meishiranu. On this day, Yukio Tachibana, wearing a blue robe and a light armor of the dragon group, hid in a corner, quietly paying attention to the abused newcomers of the dragon group. When he saw the girl in red who was also abused in the crowd, Yukio Tachibana couldn't help but tremble all over. "Hey, what are you hiding here for?" Leojing. Uchiha Obito appeared beside Yukio Tachibana at some point, patted Yukio Tachibana and said playfully, "Oh my god, you scared me, what are you doing? Can you make some noise?" Tachibana Yukio shivered with fear, and when he saw Uchiha Obito, he patted his chest to calm down, and said unhappily, "No, aren't you usually very alert? Why are you like this now? Let me see who you are looking at." Uchiha Obito said suspiciously, and then looked through Tachibana Yukio's line of sight. "What are you looking at? What's so good about it?" Seeing this, Tachibana Yukio hurriedly pulled Uchiha Obito away from here, saying guiltily, "Oh, I saw it, hehe. I didn't expect you to peek." Uchiha Obito's eyes are so good, the Sharingan is in his eyes, although it was only pulled away for a moment, but the picture is instantly engraved in his mind, following which picture, he quickly found the corresponding Meishiranu in his sight. Uchiha Obito's face was filled with a mean smile, and he said with a smirk, "What do you mean by peeping? I'm watching openly, okay?" Tachibana Yukio was panicked and quickly argued, "Openly?" Uchiha Obito looked at the earthen wall with only a crack and said playfully, "Yes, just watch openly." Tachibana Yukio also glanced at the current environment, a very long and wide earthen wall, with only that one crack to see inside. He suddenly felt that he was being far-fetched, but Tachibana Yukio still argued, "Okay, if you say openly, then it's openly. But, Leojing, tell me, what's going on between you and that woman named Meishiranu? Why do you look like a mouse seeing a cat when you see her?" Uchiha Obito couldn't help his inner curiosity and asked quickly, "What do you mean by a mouse seeing a cat?" I just don't want to disturb her," Tachibana Yukio said stubbornly. "Okay, I believe you. Tell me quickly, what's going on between you two?" Uchiha Obito adjusted his light armor, then sat down next to Tachibana Yukio, pulled Tachibana Yukio to sit on the ground, and asked curiously, "I can tell you, but you can't tell others." Tachibana Yukio looked at Uchiha Obito's expression, and thought to himself, just tell it, it's okay if Uchiha Obito is the only one who knows. However, he didn't know that Uchiha Obito, who was standing aside, quietly took out a talisman with white feather characteristics from behind his back. This is a talisman to summon other dragon group ninjas. Of course, the people summoned are specific. There are talismans to summon companions, one to summon Uchiha Genji's 8 people, and another one to summon all dragon group ninjas. As luck would have it, the one Uchiha Obito quietly took out was to summon all dragon group ninjas. For a moment, all the dragon team ninjas gathered around the two of them silently, without making any sound. They were densely packed, hiding in the trees, hiding underground, standing behind the wall, and the brave guys like Hatake Kakashi squatted on the top of the wall silently. They were very tacit, without making any sound, because they heard what Uchiha Obito said. "Don't worry, I will never tell anyone what happened between you and Meishiranu," Uchiha Obito deliberately said loudly, first to show his sincerity, and second to remind some of the guys around him who were impatient. However, Uchiha Obito didn't expect that the talisman he took out was actually to summon all the dragon team ninjas. "Okay, then I'll tell you. You must not tell anyone," Tachibana Yukio said in a deep voice, and then looked at Uchiha Obito. "Don't worry. Hurry up. I can't wait," Uchiha Obito said anxiously. "Okay, actually, Meishiranu is my fiancé," Tachibana Yukio said helplessly. "Wang Zifa? Are you sure? Oh my god. I can't believe it. That charming and gentle girl is actually your fiancé." Urahibito almost popped his eyes out after he finished speaking. When did your Sharingan stop working? When did you go blind? You actually said that Mei Shiranui is as gentle as water? Have you secretly learned about her? Tachibana Yukio looked at Urahibito in disbelief. How is it possible? Except for Lin, I don't pay much attention to other girls. I just took a look at their faces when I was training them. Urahibito touched his head awkwardly and said, you can also read faces? How come I don't know? Some people look very different on the surface than they actually are. Tachibana Yukio first mocked Urahibito and then said with emotion, go on. I'm listening. As a brother, I will definitely help you get rid of your at-seeing cat look. Urahibito said righteously. Actually, my meeting with Mei Shiranui was really, how can I put it, such a sin. When Tachibana Yukio said this, his eyes turned red. He almost cried. This made Urahibito feel anxious, and he wanted to hear Tachibana Yukio tell the story of him and Mei Shiranui. Urahibito did not interrupt Tachibana Yukio, and listened quietly to Tachibana Yukio telling the story of him and Mei Shiranui. At that time, Tachibana Yukio and Mei Shiranui were not too old, just over 10 years old. The two were in the same village. Tachibana Yukio belonged to the Tachibana Yu clan, and Mei Shiranui belonged to the Shiranui clan. Both were families of bloodline power, and both had inheritance. Just like these two families, that had been friends for generations, suddenly became enemies. Chapter 299, The Past of Tachibana Yukio and Mei Shiranui. This pair of enemies is none other than Yukio Tachibana and Mei Shiranui. They have been competing with each other since they were young. Yukio Tachibana is not convinced by Mei Shiranui, and Mei Shiranui is not convinced by Yukio Tachibana. Every year, the two families have a martial arts competition. Of course, this is just a competition to enhance feelings, but for this pair of enemies, it is really a fight to the death. In the fierce battle, both Mei Shiranui and Yukio Tachibana burst out with blood power. This is also the first time that the two have burst out with blood power, which makes the patriarchs of the two families very excited. Mei Shiranui, you stinky woman. Let me tell you, you can't beat me. Hurry up and admit defeat. I tell you that when I get angry, I'm afraid of myself. On the ring, Yukio Tachibana inserted the long blade into the ground in front of him. His eyes were red, his whole body was shining with red light, and he said unhappily, are you kidding? Yukio Tachibana, I'm someone you can never defeat. If you don't want to be burned to death by me, hurry up and admit defeat. Mei Shiranui exudes scorching flames all over her body. She said with the look of the god of fire, in that case, don't blame me. Tachibana Yukio said coldly. Blame you? Just don't blame me. Shiranui also said with disdain. The two prides of heaven started a desperate battle. In the end, the two used up their last bit of strength. Because of exhaustion, they both fell down, and then the battle ended in a draw. Since then, the two have become more and more intense. Every now and then, they would go to each other's doorsteps to fight with each other. In the end, on the first day, Shiranui burned Tachibana Yukio's house, and that night, Tachibana Yukio chopped up Mei Shiranui's boudoir. Fortunately, the two of them lived in a separate house. This caused a headache for the two family heads. The two family heads, Wu Shiranui and Tachibana Yu Musashi, were extremely helpless. Until one day, Tachibana Yukio, if you have the guts, go to the back mountain with me to fight it out. Shiranui took her fan and shouted at Tachibana Yukio's doorstep again. Do we still need to decide who is the best? Isn't it obvious? Of course, Tachibana Yukio was unwilling to be outdone, holding a long blade, leaning against the door, looking at Mei Shiranui with disdain. Asshole, follow me to the back mountain and see who is stronger between the two of us. Humph. Do you dare? Mei Shiranui glared at Tachibana Yukio and said unhappily. TSK, let's go. Who's afraid of who? Tachibana Yukio raised his long hair and said. Then he followed Mei Shiranui to the back mountain. On this day, the two of them were still fighting very seriously at the beginning, but in the end, the more they hit each other, the more red their faces became. Just when the two of them looked at each other with a little confusion, three big men jumped out from the side. Although it was a bit bloody, it was like this. These three big men were members of the strongest wandering ninja gang in the area near the two families. Knowing that the two people were sparring here, they secretly put drugs nearby. This group of people thought that, since the old guys in the two tribes couldn't do anything, they would start with the younger ones. Otherwise, every feud has to encounter something before it can be repaired. Tachibana Yukayo was poisoned by the drug, and his heart was like a fire. His strength was greatly reduced. In addition, he had been sparring with Mei Shiranu before, and he was already exhausted. He was injured and killed the 3 wandering ninjas. However, Tachibana Yukayo desperately protected Mei Shiranu, and the painful expression on his face when he was injured while protecting Mei Shiranu were all remembered by Mei Shiranu. Although Mei Shiranu was also a little confused, as a proud girl, she still had this perseverance. It may be that Tachibana Yukayo was unable to resist the drug, or it may be that Mei Shiranu wanted to repay Tachibana Yukayo for saving her life. The two of them were in a beautiful place in the back mountain, with the sky as a blanket and the ground as a bed, and some unspeakable things happened. When the two woke up, Tachibana Yukayo found himself lying on Mei Shiranu like a dead dog, and Mei Shiranu was staring at him blankly. Tachibana Yukayo got anxious and stood up immediately, but when they separated, Mei Shiranu felt a pain. He shouted in pain, and then the string in his heart broke. He started crying. Tachibana Yukayo was anxious and a little overwhelmed. However, Tachibana Yukayo is not that kind of scumbag. After comforting Mei Shiranu, he sent Mei Shiranu home and immediately went home to tell his father about it. Tachibana Musashi was also embarrassed and hurriedly prepared the betrothal gifts and then took Tachibana Yukayo to propose marriage. Mei Shiranu, with a blushing face, stood behind Shiranu-yun, who had a dark face. It was because of this that Tachibana Yukayo's attitude towards Mei Shiranu changed. The character of being afraid of his wife suddenly became like water from a floodgate, rushing endlessly. In the little bit of life, Tachibana Yukayo no longer went against Mei Shiranu as before. He gave in to Mei Shiranu everywhere, and cared for Mei Shiranu everywhere. Tachibana Yukayo felt that he owed her this. When Mei Shiranu frowned, Tachibana Yukayo was frightened, for fear that Mei Shiranu would be angry. Although Mei Shiranu was not the kind of unreasonable girl, she felt sweet and interesting about the way Tachibana Yukayo treated her, so she got used to bullying Tachibana Yukayo. However, the good times did not last long. The Shiranu clan suffered a great change and was jointly wiped out by the nearby wandering ninja group. Overnight, even with the help of the Tachibana Yukayo clan, they were powerless. Only Shiranome was left alive in the Shiranu clan. Then, the Tachibana Yukayo clan decided to move to Konoha. They wanted to take Mei Shiranu with them, but Mei Shiranu only left a sentence for Tachibana Yukayo and disappeared. When I have avenged my revenge, I will find you to marry you. If you dare to forget me, be careful that I will castrate you. Tachibana Yukayo has always remembered this sentence. When he saw Mei Shiranu again this time, he was excited and scared. That's why he was like that when he saw Mei Shiranu. After listening to Yukayo's story, Uchiha Obito sighed, patted Yukayo on the shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely tell Mei Shiranu about the heated conversation you had with that guy from someone's family and those female ninjas some time ago. Thank you." Damn, do you want to die, Obito? Yukayo thought Uchiha Obito was very loyal, but he immediately heard something wrong and said angrily. However, when Yukayo moved, he instantly felt that something was wrong around him. This feeling? He was surrounded. The one closest to him was Yukayo, who slowly raised his head. He saw those familiar faces. Shizu, Kakashi, Kei, Asuma, Brother Genji, you guys. Yukayo stretched out his hand tremblingly, pointed at these guys climbing the wall, and said with a heartache, "We've been discovered. Retreat." Heartache Kakashi was so smart, he shouted and disappeared first. Then, there were waves of retreat underground, and there were constant noises from the treetops. The most annoying thing was that there were footsteps moving away from behind the wall. Uchiha Obito, I'll fucking chop you to death. Accompanied by Tachibana Yukayo's angry shout, the dragon group had a beautiful scene of one chasing the other. I didn't mean to. I didn't expect to take the wrong talisman. Uchiha Obito explained anxiously while running. You're done. You're dead. There's such a story. Well, it seems that the dragon group will be interesting in the future. Bai Yu quietly appeared from an empty corner and then disappeared. Chapter 300 Bai Yu looking for fun. The next day, the same earth wall, the same gap, only Tachibana Yukayo was watching quietly, while Uchiha Obito, with shiny black circles under his eyes, was training the new ninjas of the Dragon Group in a proud manner. Everything in the Dragon Group was going smoothly. Bai Yu looked at Tsunade, Uchiha Makoto, and Terumi Mei who were idle at home every day, and it was not a big deal. Now that the children are grown up, there is no need to take care of them at home every day like before. So Bai Yu simply let the three girls join the Dragon Group again. Bai Yu is the captain of the Dragon Group, Tsunade is the deputy captain of the Dragon Group, Uchiha Makoto is Bai Yu's personal secretary, and Terumi Mei is a staff officer of the Dragon Group. Tsunade is responsible for all matters of the Dragon Group, and Terumi Mei assists Tsunade in taking charge. Rather than saying that Uchiha Makoto is Bai Yu's personal secretary, it is better to say that she is the executor of Tsunade and Terumi Mei. Because Bai Yu has nothing else to do except taking a general view of the overall situation every day. With Kato Shizune in Konoha Hospital and Nohara in the Dragon Group Medical Department, Tsunade, Mei, Terumi and Uchiha Makoto are still very free. Especially the three women, they are simply workaholics. During the day, Bai Yu went to the three women's office to do something indescribable, but he left excited and returned disappointed. This made Bai Yu very uncomfortable, but the good thing is that the Dragon Group's affairs are more detailed than before, and the management is simpler and clearer. Tsunade and Mei Terumi are both strong women. One was once a candidate for Hokage, but she married Bai Yu, and the other was a former Mizukage who also quit because of marrying Bai Yu. Not to mention Uchiha Makoto, who is rigorous in work and has strong execution ability. It is also because of marrying Bai Yu that she is idle at home. In general, Bai Yu is really a waste of time. Ahem. Bai Yu saw that everything in the Dragon Group was running steadily, and the consortium was also running steadily. For a while, he was really idle. But Bai Yu is not someone who can be idle easily. On the same day, Bai Yu came to the ninja school. He found Iruka, the head teacher of Baiing and Beiheo. Hello, Mr. Iruka. I'm the father of Baiing and Beiheo. Bai Yu said politely in Iruka's office. Hello, Lord Bai Yu. It's a great honor to meet you. Iruka was very excited to see Bai Yu, and quickly made a cup of tea for Bai Yu, then bowed and said, "You're welcome. How are the two children doing in school?" Bai Yu asked with a smile. Bai Yu thought that Baiing must be fine, and Beiheo must be naughty. Once you know something, the fun of life comes. Baiing performed very well. Especially recently, the performance is even better. Beiheo has been more obedient recently than before. Iruka couldn't pretend to show his approval when talking about Baiing, but when talking about Beiheo, his face was obviously embarrassed. After all, in Iruka's heart, Beiheo is always willing to play pranks, disobedient, and poor academic performance, which has a lot to do with himself. It's okay, tell me about Beiheo's past and recent. It just so happens that I'm not too busy during this period, and I'm very free. Bai Yu touched his chin and said with a smile, "Look, isn't this a job?" Iruka looked at Bai Yu's serious look, and it was hard to hide it. He told Bai Yu all the glorious deeds of Beiheo. He formed an alliance with Uzumaki Naruto right after entering school. The two of them were together, peeping into the female bath, making trouble in the school, playing pranks on teachers, drawing the portrait of the third generation, etc. A few days ago, they left traces of paint on the Hokage rock. If it hadn't been discovered in time, it is estimated that this matter would have spread throughout the entire Konoha village. Listening to Iruka's explanation, the smile on Bai Yu's face became more and more intense. "Good boy, knowing that your father is bored, I deliberately gave your father something to do," Bai Yu thought to himself. But when Iruka saw Bai Yu's smile, he suddenly felt a chill on his back. Behind Bai Yu's smile, Iruka deeply felt a conspiracy. "That's about it, Lord Bai Yu," Iruka said quickly. "Okay, I understand. You've worked hard during this period. I have an idea, which is to ask for 2 months of leave for Baiing and Beiheo. Give them some training," Bai Yu said with a smile. Iruka suddenly seemed to have guessed something, and silently mourned for Beiheo for a while. Then he smiled and said, "No problem, Master Bai Yu. Your teaching will definitely be much better than in the ninja school." How could it be? The ninja school has its own advantages. There are some things that even I can't teach better than the ninja school. Bai Yu and Iruka exchanged greetings for a while. Bai Yu walked towards Iruka's class, and Iruka followed respectfully. But when Bai Yu walked to the door, Iruka thought of something, and hurriedly called Bai Yu. But Bai Yu had already pushed open the classroom door and walked in. Iruka hurriedly covered his eyes, and didn't dare to look. But his body was still very honest, and his fingers opened a slit. Bai Yu, who had just entered, suddenly felt that something was approaching him. Bai Yu frowned, and the purple gold magic power suddenly spread outward. Block the object approaching you. The next second, a black border razor was blocked by Bai Yu. It fell in front of Bai Yu, and Bai Yu was stunned! Exclamation mark. Such a childish prank. Could it be Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto? Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto, the two of them originally covered their mouths and prepared to laugh, but when they saw Bai Yu's face, Uzumaki Naruto was stunned, and Bai Yu was scared pale. It's over! Exclamation mark. But then, Bai Yu's face became even paler, because there is a second part of the prank. Bai Yu thought to himself that this stinky boy, his pranks are so low level, it seems that he really needs to practice him well. Bai Yu took a step forward and clearly felt that there was space under his feet. His eyes narrowed. Click. There was only a vague sound of triggering the mechanism. From all directions of the classroom, they shot at Bai Yu. Bai Yu smiled slightly. This is still a bit like it. However, it is still too childish for me. Bai Yu waved his left and right hands at the same time. Using the Teikai technique, he kneaded all the chalk around him into his palm and then pulled it hard. It went straight to Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto. The two children were shocked when they saw the chalk rushing towards them. The momentum was too great. Just when everyone thought that the chalk was going to hit Bai Yu and Uzumaki Naruto, the chalk stopped. It turned around and flew back to the chalk box on the podium. When everyone was stunned, Bai Yu smiled and said, "Hello everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bai Yu, and I'm the father of Bai Yu and Bai Yu. Nice to meet you." Oh my god. Lord Bai Yu. It's Lord Bai Yu. He single-handedly pacified the second and third ninja world wars. The Konoha death god, known as the tailless tailed beast in the ninja world. Did you see the obedient Ninetales on the street? It was Lord Bai Yu who subdued it. Bai Yu's appearance caused a commotion in the class. The little girls looked at Bai Yu like crazy. Even Ice Cube Sasuke couldn't help but stand up and bow to Bai Yu. Sasuke knew that Bai Yu helped his family. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.